Hello, everyone, and welcome to Answer the Call. As you could see, the topic today is the state of PvP in Star Citizen. Why I want to talk about that this week is because I was kind of drawing or grabbing at straws to try and figure out, like, hey, what do I do in Star Citizen? It's kind of boring, and I just got a crime stat and started fighting off the people that were fighting me, and it was incredibly fun. This was like a week ago. And then yesterday, I flew around trying to find player bounties, trying to find PvP, could not find it for just could not find it. So I went to Arena Commander and started playing with my friends, and it wasn't too bad. And then we had a sweaty PvPer who's in chat right now, Panda Butu, pops in and just destroys me, which is not the problem here. He was good, fine. The problem was how he destroyed me, right? He just like overclocked his weapons, and then how I feel I died was because all I see in front of my face is shield bubble, and it was like the worst experience I've had. There's no problem being sweaty, there's no problem being good at the game, but it was just like, what is this? And I was like, what is going on with this game? I haven't talked to Moist. I know Moist is doing something really cool, really special. I didn't know what Cutlet was doing, but we talked about this before the stream, so I thought it was like a great opportunity. And Moist is also working with BeeBerrie on this PvP kind of like summit teaching lesson thing. So without further ado, we have 3 guests on today's show. A new scene, Moist Noodle, SpaceCutlet, BeeBerrie. We'll start with Moist before we go with anybody, because it's just like we'll go around the order. Who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen? Just introduce yourself a little bit in case people don't know you.
I'm Moist Noodle. I primarily PvP in Star Citizen. I do a little bit of low flying when PvP gets super bad from patch to patch. It's not completely awful right now. I wouldn't say it's great either. But right now, I'm working with BeeBerrie. I'm actually working with Panda and a few other people, Aiko, to kind of... It started essentially just as a little on-stream event to invite people into a group PvP dogfighting scenario, and is slowly evolving more into a PvP dogfighting school. Yeah, you know, we're averaging 20 to 30 people per day turning up. We're trying to organize it now into, I know that B is actually running 2 classes this afternoon. I think 2 classes of 4 in each class. Yeah, last week we pretty much ran an event every day. We're just trying to work out where we want to take it going forward, though we want to organize it a little better. We're trying to essentially rank people, so because what you don't want to end up doing is putting somebody who's hyper experienced against somebody who's pretty new, right?
Yeah.
Because you won't really learn something from somebody who just smashes you in a second. Yeah, it's gone pretty amazing so far, and the really cool thing is that we're seeing people of all experience levels. You know, we're seeing people who have plenty experience like B, like Fighter Phoenix, and then we're seeing people who have never PvP. In fact, my IRL best friend started playing this week, and he's been joining us, and he's actually been having a lot of fun and working stuff out as it goes. So
I'm going to join, by the way. I've been meaning to the second I heard about it, but I've just heard about it, and then I had work, so I was like, I'm doing this for sure.
Sweet.
Yeah. Cutlet. So who are you? What are you up to? I guess definitely mention the thing you were talking about doing on stream and stuff, so. You're muted.
Yeah, nice. I'm muted. That's great. I forgot in Discord I have to push to talk. So, hello everybody. My name is SpaceCutlet, both in game and on stream, on Twitch. I'm a PvP player with a big focus on piracy. To my regret, the piracy is in a very bad state at this point of the game, so I just do like PvP stuff and all that occasionally with piracy. But recently, I've started this little challenge for myself, more than to anyone else. With the free flight, I created a new account and I have only Aurora, and I tend to earn money streaming it, and earn money only with the acts of piracy and griefing CACW.
Which I think is really cool. A lot of people do like 0 to hero stuff, but never in that way. So I think it's like a really interesting twist and take on
it's
the
like
0 to hero thing.
No friends allowed, no exploits allowed, obviously, no exploited or transferred merits allowed. Yeah, like maybe then in a month I'll say, okay, I have one friend in my game and we can roll together. But at this point, it's just pure solo thing to see, is it even possible to do that in game? That's it.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that's what's kind of cool about it is I think it is possible, and I think it's just a matter of finding the best.
Oh, definitely.
Situation for
when
it, which
we're
I know
ready
you
to
will.
talk about it, when we're ready to talk about, it's not just, I'm not gonna start the my representation and with the whole 1 hour story, right? So yeah, we will talk about it later.
And then B, obviously you're working with Moist, but this is my first time meeting you, and yeah.
Hello.
What's your history with Star Citizen? Content creator,
well,
yes, no, all that stuff.
I did used to stream a little a year ago, and I do plan on streaming at some point in the near future. But when it comes to Star Citizen, I've been following the game since 2013. I finally got a good enough computer to play it in 2019 or 2018, and that's when I made my first pledge. I run my own piracy-based org. It's private and just close friends for now.
Okay.
But yeah, it's pure like stealing cargo as much as as we can, and do the piracy gameplay loops that we feel we can kind of try and manage in the current state of the PU.
Sure.
But when I'm not playing with my org, I'm kind of just playing on my own, and I noticed that I'm passionate about PvP. It's something that I really care about, and I was noticing that not only myself but others were finding it hard to not only find people to fight in the PU that were wanting to engage, but finding people that had the skills to engage. And I was getting very, very bored just smashing plebs constantly. Like I could literally have a crime stat 5 for like a couple of weeks and never get to send to prison unless it was a bug, or like a RAM or something. And so I ended up just being like, okay, well, I want to bring up people's skill levels. I want to engage people in kind of interesting conversations about PvP and the more kind of higher concepts of how it works. And I really want to see more people just having fun with these awesome mechanics that we have within the game right now.
Yeah. Like the one day that I went after a player bounty and then started doing that day that I enjoyed PvP that I talked about in the intro, I was like, I see it now. Like I see exactly why no matter what, people who want PvP will just kill anything to just try and get a reaction back or just get an engagement back, because that was so fun. It was so fun. I felt like I outflew that person or managed whatever, and it felt good. And it was a way better experience for me than finding a big thing of Quantanium and making 1 million credits or something like that, right? It is the most tactile, the most involved, the most focused, the most risk and reward, the most heart pounding, right? Like that's what it is. So
it's the best gameplay we have in game currently, in my opinion.
It was
anyway.
the first gameplay we had in game.
Yeah.
A lot of people forget that,
Yeah, sure. And that's kind of like the sad thing almost, is that the issue is finding people to kill, right? And every time I've had Moist on or Virgil or anybody that we've talked PvP with on the show, it's always been a discussion of like, why don't we have that like jump town thing where it just funnels people to one place to fight? Why aren't we doing that? And I sort of had a little bit of a conversation about it on Twitch today, and I want to hear what you guys think about it. is I do find a lot of people in the PvP community, for example, like let's use the most recent one where Xenothreat happens, CIG makes a change that negatively affects PvPers, and then on my Twitter feed I see CIG is stupid, open PvP game, blah 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 blah, and it's just like boom 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 boom, negativity, yelling, anger, and I wonder if like is CIG not doing this because a good portion or the louder portion of the Star Citizen PvP community going about it the wrong way?
I'm going to be really blunt. I'm going to be really blunt and just say I think, and I'm really sorry to those of you who work at CIG, I think CIG is really out of touch with the PvP community. And I think Xenothreat actually really highlighted that. The fact that they created that event, like, here's the thing. People call me a griefer all day long. That's fine. I've just learned to live with it. But I'm very much like you, Mike, right? I firmly believe that everybody has their gameplay. They are entitled to their gameplay. And I want those people to have fun the same way that I want to have fun. It's just unfortunate that we live in one small solar system right now that's limited to 50 players per server, and they are my content, right? But what blew my mind with the Xenothreat event was that they created this event, and all of a sudden, it's almost as if it blew their minds that PvPers were turning up and absolutely annihilating everybody.
Yeah.
Like, that's what confused me the most, honestly.
And then they went ahead and they extended the comm array range, thinking that would solve the problem. Like, that's
like we PvP in comm array every day. What's the problem with that? What?
If they had designed that event and that mission with PvP in mind and encouraged, not discouraged PvP, but encouraged PvP to be in a different area to where the boxes were being loaded, then they wouldn't have run into that issue.
Yeah. I didn't mind personally that their boxes had PvP at them. The only thing that I was like okay with them extending the monitored zone was like, hey, if you work together and fought off the, let's say, 5 PvPers or PKers or whatever that came over, they went to prison and you had the opportunity to get the boxes then. And I think that was sort of their mentality, which is, I think, is okay. But I like the idea more of knowing that this game has PvP elements and building something in with that. Or, I mean, at times, sometimes, like, I feel like this is what it was. I think it was a PvE event. The Vandal Mask event was a PvP event. And then they're clearly saying that the next one is a PvP event. And maybe they're going to do like a TikTok thing. I don't know, where, you know, sometimes it's PvP, sometimes it's not, whatever. But the thing that I absolutely 100% agree with is that CIG is out of touch with the PvP community. But what I was sort of hinting at is, do you think it's because of the mentality of the PvP community? Or the generalizations that are made about them? The things that you hear on Twitter, Spectrum, Reddit, that kind of stuff. Get good, open world PvP, like where Star Citizen is not really an open world PvP game in my mind. It has elements.
I think
places,
there are.
You know,
go on, B.
I think there are a lot of misconceptions on both sides of the aisle in kind of this discussion, or whether it comes from, you know, like the kind of more PvP oriented players or the more like P oriented players. Like the two sides both generalize, and they both have the kind of wrong idea about large sections of the other side. Yep. For example, you know, there are a lot of PvP-based organizations out there that are exceptionally toxic against people that like PvE gameplay, like mining, which I think that is completely wrong, and I don't agree with it. But then there are people on the PvE side of the community that are exceptionally toxic against people like myself, who just want to engage in some interesting fights and some interesting mechanics, right?
Yeah. And then, like, you kill somebody, and then, you know, they tell you to go die in a grease fire or something like that. Obviously.
I literally had that this morning on stream.
Yeah.
The best, absolutely vile what lots of these people say.
I will go in here. So you have to burn down with your family during the riots in your own house. That's what I've been told.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I just a little
It's
correction
incredibly
there.
toxic.
Yeah.
Incredibly toxic from a lot of these players, and honestly, like being involved with Noodle and his Gilded and meeting people that are interested in PvP from I don't really know how to describe it, but from a more kind of wanting to get better at the game perspective, all these people are absolutely lovely. I haven't met a single person that I would describe as a toxic personality. And I think that's a testament to how much the PvP community is misunderstood. We don't all have massive egos that need to be stroked. We don't all want to have our gameplay and our fun 100% of the time forced on others, which is why we are now organizing our own, squadron battles, our own training that are outside of CIG's control.
Yeah, and the problem with it's not a problem. This is all great. I mean, this is why we're talking about this. The thing that I'm worried about is what happens when there is good elements of PvP. And I think that's what a lot of the PvP community is trying to teach and tell the, I guess, casual players, is that they are going to have to deal with this occasionally. And I think casual players are trying to say, I don't want to deal with this all the time. And
the thing is,
they're yelling it
at
each other in a bad way, but both are saying that.
I think, I watched your video actually, and it changed it broadened my horizon a little bit. When we showed the video of Chris Roberts talking about how PvP is going to be in Star Citizen. Now, I remember most of the things that they've always talked about when it comes to PvP in Star Citizen. The one thing that specifically always stood out in my mind, I think it was from a sitcom presentation, was when they were talking about how you'd be able to smuggle weapons past security so you'd never actually be safe, right? But I also remember them saying things about, the 10% rule, right? Where actually the majority of the universe is actually NPCs, and that you'll, one day when NPCs aren't standing on chairs, you'll actually be able to hide yourself in amongst the crowds, Assassin's Creed style, right? And I love that idea personally, and I've never described Star Citizen as a PvP game. I've always, if you always listen to the way that I describe Star Citizen on my stream, I've always described it as a game with PvP elements, right? I don't, again, like I said earlier, everybody is entitled to their gameplay, but it doesn't mean that they should be 100% immune from PvP, right? And I get people screaming at me that they're constantly getting griefed in global chat, right?
Bro, I've never seen
I'm sorry,
it,
but
and I'm a streamer.
No. Like, these people who are screaming at me saying, they're claiming that they're constantly getting griefed. I ask my Twitch chat, okay, how many of you guys, like back when pad ramming was more of a major thing, I used to get that all the time. And I'd ask my Twitch chat, how many of you guys get pad rammed? And like even back when pad ramming was more of an issue, it was never as much of an issue as, a lot of these really vocal people made out, right? And I think that's the thing. I think there are some very vocal people in the community who are very loud, and because you have this group of vocal people, and you get it on both sides, people seem to think they represent the whole of both sides of the argument, whereas it's not true, At all.
No. Not true.
And something to bear in mind as well, and I am 100% guilty of this, people have bad days, right? And I absolutely had a bad day yesterday where somebody was trolling me a little bit and I called them names, right? And name calling is one thing that I really, really don't like in Star Citizen, because it's a little bit uncalled for, and I called them names, and in hindsight, I feel bad for it. But that's something you have to bear in mind as well, right? Just because somebody is getting mad in global chat doesn't necessarily mean that's what they're always like, which is sometimes why I just close global chat, right? Like, very often I will just play the game with the chat closed.
I always play it with the chat closed, because I mean that's one of the things. Like, I don't want to get stream sniped, so I try to keep all the opportunities to find out what server you're in out, and like
Yeah.
just typing in chat like, you know, testing, like I never wanted it there. And I also just see so
Yeah.
many toxic things in the chat that I don't want that on the screen, so on and so forth. So I always
Yeah.
just keep it closed, and I just fight people, and then I check and see if they get mad, and then they most of the time never do, and that's
Yeah.
it. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of want to steer the conversation away from what is griefing, which is essentially where we are, and to the current state of the game, and a little bit of taking what we were just talking about. But why do you think CIG isn't providing the funnel? Is it, I mean, do you just think it's straight up out of touch? Why do you
Yes,
think something else
100%.
why do you think something like that isn't a priority? Go ahead.
I
Cutlet.
think there are, yeah, I think there are multiple reasons for that. First, they are out of touch, and like that's been like confirmed by many things they said that they were thinking gonna work, and it's not working. The good example will be Threat, as Noodle pointed it out earlier. Like they totally don't understand the mindset of the modern gamer. Sometimes, and I feel bad saying this, I don't like to say that a lot, but at this point it feels sometimes CG are like the dinosaurs from 90s
Sure.
that don't really understand what's going on. Though it's kind of weird calling them dinosaurs from 90s, because like one of the most hardcore games were created at the end of 90s, like at the start of new millennia, right? Like Ultima Online, it was full hardcore PvP. Like EVE Online released 2003, it was full hardcore PvP, and it is right now. So I don't even know if that's correct to say that, but I think being out of touch, that's number one. And then there is who are developers? Are they gamers? Are they actually gamers? Do they play their own game? Do they actually see what's going on the live servers? How players behave? My answer would be probably not. If
I guess
they have teams who do play, I think there is such a gap between those teams and the people who actually do the decision calls.
that's just it, right? And I'm just going to cut in to say, like, I see people making comments all the time saying CIG doesn't play the game. I know plenty of people at CIG who play the game on a daily basis, but they are not the people who are directors making these decisions.
Exactly. So people who are making decisions for features, for changes, they're just flying in their imaginary dev builds. That's what I think the problem is.
100%.
Like, I just think it's one of the problems. It's not the only problem, but it's one of the reasons why this is going on. That's what we mean, like, out of touch, right? And then it goes to the balancing issues with the ships. They're out of touch again, because probably what the majority, like, their perception is their level of skill, which, like, it's just different to what you can actually achieve in this game by playing it at the maximum of its possibilities, right? So there is like a multitude of things that affect this. And then the main thing, guess what? Marketing. I think CAG is very aware of population of their game, right? They know what is the population of their like PvP audience. They know what at least they know approximate numbers. What fraction of that population is actually interested, for example, in meaningful PvP, not just shooting like piracy? What part of that population just wants to dogfight? And then they compare it to people from like PvE audience, from people who like screenshots, who want to fly the sunsets, who want to chase the sunsets, people who trade, who mine, and probably on that spreadsheet, we are just such a small fraction. And we all understand that the backing of the project goes directly from players. and that is, I think, a very major thing. So I don't want to get into like this crazy how do you call it, Illuminati things, but some things that are not getting fixed for years, but then other things are getting instantly fixed. It makes me think, right? What are the priorities in the dev team, and
Well, let's
like
take a look
why?
at take a look at Grimhex. Criminals spawn in only one
Yes.
location now, and half the time we can't even use the goddamn elevators. Like, it's genuinely that bad. And you go to another server to try and get working elevators, and they're broken there as well. Like, come on.
It's funny that the recent fixes with the prison, right? So they fixed the missions. They spawn much more consistently and much faster, which I am very happy about. Thank you, CG. And the delivery of minerals into the terminals, it's like in any other game, and probably even in any other place inside Star Citizen gameplay, that fix would be like, well, okay, easy done. Like right now, right here, people are not happy with that. How long it took?
A year?
That exact fixes? Like a half a year?
I think more
A year?
than that. Yeah.
It depends. Like it depends how you calculate from which point, because they were broken, then they were not broken, like and all that. Then the multi-tool problem, but let's safely say half a year, and then this fix comes in, and you're like feeling like the gods looked upon you. Finally, it's a blessing, you know. It's a blessing from above to have like that tiny little thing, so it actually just works, you know, and you can get out of prison. So yeah, this all makes you question the priorities and to whom they're listening, and like, yeah, it's like I can go with this forever, so I'll just stop.
Yeah, and I'll shift it over to you. B is, you guys, the PvPers, have been so vocally active about the idea of Jumptown. Don't bring back Jumptown. I mean, I think you kind of had it for a little while, Cutlet, right? With reclamation and disposal, Orinth, the drug trade.
Yeah.
It seems like they may have tried
for one day, then it broke.
Yeah,
definitely they tried it. So I mean, if we're getting deeper now, right? So it's more about like open world PvP, not just for the dogfighting, but actually I got very hard when B said she's into piracy. I never knew that, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I do it a lot.
Yeah, so about the open world PvP that is meaningful and some kind of like, you know, that is piracy or whatever you call it, they probably tried to bring that back with Orinth. I don't know if they did it on purpose to kind of mimic the Jumptown stuff, or they accidentally did it because they just needed a place to sell Slam. But again, now the trading is broken. It's not only for drug trade. It's just broken, right? And you cannot trade.
The current bugs that are plaguing the whole trading system, it's completely ruined what I used to do with my organization. We used to constantly take down ships and blow them up and load up the cargo and sell it, but there just aren't the people out there trading anymore. And we can spend a whole, 6-7 hours trying to look for that kind of content, and we're like, well, we're not finding it, so let's just go to PO and just shoot plebs for a bit, because that's the only gameplay we have.
Literally,
and then you get called
when the PU was first created. What was the first thing that PvPers do? Like, they literally just camped at PO, hanging out at PO.
Yeah.
And these years later, what are PvPers currently doing in the PU? They're camping at PO.
That is a very good argument from Killjoy, actually. He owns that argument. He said it a long time ago when he wanted to get back to Star Citizen. Like, yo, back in 2.6, I was circling PO for like days just to get shoots. Cutlet, do I really have to go back to Star Citizen right now? Like, because what do I do? I'm like, circle PO. He's like, okay, I'm not coming back for now.
Yeah.
And the thing that frustrates me is when I do kill people or gank someone, right? Every now and again, I'll get somebody make the comment, why did you do that? What do you get out of it? Well, it's, I got to shoot somebody, which is a little bit fun. I'm sorry that my fun was at your expense. There is that, but I get their point, right? It's not like I'm pirating. And I will be honest, some of the most fun I ever had in this game was hanging out with SpaceCutlet, other than like PvP dogfights, was hanging out with SpaceCutlet and actually doing organized piracy, waiting hidden, right, while somebody was scouting, then being called in to try and net this person, right? And there was so much planning involved, and we actually got a reward. Not much, but a reward, right? And I want to see more of that.
Yeah, so most of you guys know the thing I always say about the piracy, right? The most interesting thing about it is it combines multiple gameplays into, like, it's the end gameplay right now, at least personally for me in this game, because you have to know the trade routes, you have to know the mining spots, you have to know how to fly your ship, you have to know how to shoot people, you have to know how to utilize the utility of other ships like EMPs, QDs, you have to know all the distances, how to snare people, how to not let them go, how to not destroy them, to put them down, how to board them if needed, and then exploding ships, taking the cargo, where to sell it, all that. So it's like all the knowledge in like this gameplay, right? So is piracy dead as PvP thing in game, right? Are we just griefers? Probably yes. But the problem is, if the result of the equation is broken, that means something is wrong with the equation itself. That means the values and inside of that equation are just not there. So it's not about the piracy not being there and we're just griefers. It's about the game not being there, right?
I'd like to just reference two comments that were made by the same person in Twitch chat. So Latvanis says, camping noobs, I don't know if you can call it PvP. It's like going to a mall, you see a puppy, you kick it with full force and call it an MMA fight. The issue with that is that you can't blame players for the state of the game. There have been patches, for example, 3.4, I'm just going to use that one because that's the most common one people talk about, where we've had incredible PvP, and a lot of people actually got into Star Citizen because PvP was so good. Well, there were a lot of people who got in during 3.4 got in because of that whole scenario. So then to lose that scenario, you can't blame players for bad game design. And the other comment that I'd just like to comment on, he said, I don't think PvP piracy is even implemented in the game. That is wrong.
100%. 100% wrong. You can 100% pirate people. You can steal cargo from ships and sell it. That is the basis of what a lot of the piracy in the game is going to be. It doesn't work, and half the time it's not even worth your time because, let's be honest, CIG, increase the prices of the boxes, please, and make them SCU sized. It's ridiculous that hasn't changed.
Oh, they have so many excuses for that. I've spoke with them multiple times, and I think is going, sorry to interrupt you, but I think that is going back to the discussion of decision making. I think some decisions in this game are not made on purpose, not just because like they forget about it or they don't have time for it. It's about not making something to not escalate a certain situation or gameplay type, at least for now. I think that's the excuse in their mind. Oh, this is not ready and people won't feel like safe, so we will not escalate it by adding and improving that gameplay, so more people don't get into piracy, and like more people will leave the game because they cannot just brain dead go aerial to Hurston and sell stuff, right? So this will probably influence our income. So let's just pretend we don't see the problem. I know it sounds a bit like Illuminati like whatever thing, but it just over the years it literally feels like this.
Yeah. I think it is a little bit Illuminati, but I'm going to ask a question.
Oh, definitely,
Like this.
definitely. It sounds like super Illuminati stuff.
Yeah. And I think it is a little bit. But let me ask you this question, because it's only a little bit. You're definitely right. I feel like the PvP and piracy and anything that would make anybody upset type of gameplay has been largely ignored. But the question that I would ask is, would you rather have, and I think I know the answer to this, but would you rather have them put small elements over time of PvP piracy in, or have a piracy update one day later down the line when the game is a little bit more fleshed out, the ability to disable a ship, the whole whatchamacallit,
Distortions.
yeah, distortion, physicalized components, all that stuff, boarding, everything is like working properly.
I mean, it's
Then
not,
they
not
do
what
it.
I want. It's not what I want. I know the answer. It's gonna be by little pieces. It's not there will be never a piracy update.
Yeah.
It's gonna be by little
I think there
pieces
will be.
because no, there will not be a piracy update, aka 3.42, a piracy update. There will never be.
Let's have a bet. I
Let's
think
have
there
a
will
bet.
be.
Let's have a bet. Let's have a bet. How
We'll
much?
have to figure.
How much?
No money. Come on. The
Oh no, let's go money.
No, the last time we did money, or the last time I did a bet, I dressed up like a woman on stream. So I'm down.
I forgot about that. That was
yeah.
good.
I'm down to do a bet of like embarrassing ourselves in some way. But
All right. So okay,
We'll
let's
figure
do
out
that.
the-
Embarrassing.
Yeah.
We'll figure out the answer later. So why that's gonna happen?
Yeah.
Over the years, CAG has a taboo in their videos on like those words. They occasionally speak of the piracy, but you just don't speak because they know the main audience for their media.
Mm.
They want to mention it as less as possible because they know there is a big chunk of people who don't want to deal with any kind of PvP piracy, and they get upset, and that may lead to less incomes. So every time something every time any kind of mechanics was added to a game which benefited piracy in whatever way, it was almost never presented as such. So I don't think there will ever be a big piracy update. I think it will be presented as something different in future. Like at some point, maybe pretty soon, hopefully, we will get physicalized cargo. It will never be presented probably as a big piracy update, but it will let us as players who do this know that we
I
can
agree with
take
that.
You can
big
do it.
SCU units.
Yeah.
Then tractor beams will come in, right? And then, oh, guys, you can now help each other out with tractor beams, but we will actually know what does it mean for us.
Yeah.
MPV or whatever it's called, the thing that can grab another vehicle. I don't remember the name. It will be presented differently, but we will know the opportunities it will open for us, right?
Mhm.
So that's why I say we will never get a full-on piracy update. Maybe like after the release there will be something, but obviously we're not talking that far because the release will never happen. We all know that. We'll die waiting for the release of this game, right? So you know, because it's like developers like to do it. Like after the release, they have this like expansions, right?
Sure.
A lot of content concentrated on one theme. Maybe something like afterwards, but right now it will be like small tech stuff that will bring us closer. When
It will always be a byproduct of
yeah, because
gameplay for other types of players.
exactly, because piracy is a byproduct of every
Yeah.
other gameplay.
Yeah.
It's that's what I said. It's a combination of combat, utility, and everything else. And that's why piracy is dead, and that's why we're griefers because everything else is dead.
Doesn't
so
work.
piracy is dead. Yeah, so piracy is dead. It's pretty simple. So when people telling me like, you're a griefer, like, yo, bro, your game is broken too. So go enjoy your sunsets.
I just get hyper. Oh no, carry on. I was just gonna say I just get hyper frustrated when people complain that people like myself are camping at PO, right? When what do they like? PvP is what I do. It's my gameplay, much like people have mining as their gameplay, whatever. Like what else am I supposed to do? Where do I go? Recommend me somewhere I can go to find PvP. Right?
Yeah,
Go to
that's the
Arena
problem.
Commander, bro. Go
That's
to
the
Arena
problem.
Commander.
Oh
Arena
yeah, Arena
Commander's a
Commander.
joke.
Because I got into Star Citizen so I could enjoy an open world, right? Yeah, let me go into Arena Commander. Awesome. I'm really enjoying the open world.
Yeah. Obviously, I was sarcastic, right?
Yeah,
I
of
know,
course.
I know.
I hope everyone got it right.
So's Moist. Moist is being sarcastic as well. But the thing that drives me nuts is exactly that. Where do I go? That was all I thought about today. Where do I go? What do I do? I saw somebody in Gen Chat saying something at Everest Harbor. I fly there. It takes me 20 minutes. Everybody's gone.
Yeah.
And then
by the time you quantum there, when you find out that bit of intel, it takes so long.
Yeah. So it's a thing like, where do I go? Nobody that is a casual player, like, Cutlet's mentioning like screenshots and stuff like that. Like, nobody that wants that gameplay doesn't want that element for the PvPers. Where do I go? Give them a place. That is the state of PvP in Star Citizen. You give them a place to go. That is where they will be, and then you also give the opportunity for the casual player if they want to take the risk.
That's what Jumptown
it is
was.
as simple as that. And the fact that they don't seem to prioritize something like that is where the state of Star Citizen and PvP is, and why it is so bad, and why there's so much animosity between two groups. There should be a place where those two groups butt heads, and that is it.
I just want to jump in because, when I've had this conversation on my stream before, I've had people who don't like PvP pop up and say, well, it's not all about you, the PvPers. And what they can't see is that by giving PvPers something like Jumptown, it actually helps them.
Yes.
Right? It's
the whole problem
everybody.
Here is where are players. I mean, one of the biggest problems, 50 players per server, right? Servers are shit, 50 players per server. That's probably the biggest overarching problem. But the second thing is where are players? Well, they're at stations. They're at landing zones. They're occasionally in other places, right?
Yeah, it was fun that on the PTU there was like this bug where you could see all the markers.
Yeah.
All the markers, you could see every
actually
single
really
player.
interesting.
And it was interesting to observe like the movement, the traffic of players.
Yeah.
And you're like sitting like looking at this. Now I know what's going on. Now I know what's going on. This is so bad. Like, this is so bad. Yeah. So that's what Jumptown was. Like, it was a point where you could go for maximum profit at a maximum risk. I think they tried to do it with Orinth, but what happened is they implemented. Finally, it worked for them. So probably for them, it's good. Finally, it worked for them that the trading database is united across all the servers. The problem is, it just the values in that database, how it refreshes, it just doesn't work out. Like when you give that tiny demand, that tiny supply to the entire player base, it's just not enough. Like, and probably what's going on right now, and what stops like from anything happening in the verse, including like PvP, but also it touches trading, is they're figuring out how to probably make another clever, overworked, not necessary right now algorithm that will understand what's the approximate demand from players, and it will dynamically, probably because everything has to be very dynamic in this game and very cool and clever, make that supply on the outposts. And that will take them like a year again, obviously. Instead of just pumping in the supply values, like just adding 2 zeros to supply values and just let the players play, you know, for now, while you figure it out.
Yeah. It's just like, I can't stop thinking about what Moist said is, if I want a PvP, obviously when the game gets larger, we're all in one server meshing, it's going to be a lot simpler. But if I want a PvP, I should be able to know, and it should be sort of common knowledge. And if you pop in game, you ask in Gen Chat, and people will go, oh yeah, go to Grimhex, go to Pyro this place, go to here, that place. Reclamation and Disposal Orinth. If you want PvP, that's where you go. And it's as simple as that. And then PvPers can PvP. They can occasionally come across players and pirate in those areas. Piracy is going to be a little bit more difficult, I think, to do for the long term. The one thing I was going to ask you, Cutlet, about piracy is when you speak of piracy, I only hear it from the pirate on player, actual real player perspective. Do you ever plan on doing pirate versus NPC? Or is that not engaging?
I didn't really get the question.
Like every time
you
mention
PvE piracy?
Sure. Like, if it was possible, it's not really possible right now necessarily, but would you board an NPC ship and steal their cargo? Or is it only the challenge
if it would be a proper gameplay loop? Yeah. If it would be a proper gameplay loop? Well, if we're just theory crafting here, we have like advanced AI and all that. Like right now, right? I'm playing Eve. Before the stream, I played Eve, and you know what I was doing? I was doing PvE, because that part of Eve that I'm doing is still challenging for me.
Okay.
And interesting, because I'm very, like, I played lots of years ago and I was like a PvPer for like 7 years, but right now I'm total noob. So I'm doing that because that portion of the game is still challenging for me, and there is for me like puzzles to solve, right? It was Star Citizen, if they ever manage to come up with that kind of PvE gameplay that give you those puzzles to solve that is interesting, probably I would do it like, how do I say it? While it's interesting. While it is interesting, right? And while it keeps you engaged. Also, obviously, like, some PvE should be necessary for like money grind in future when we have the economy, if ever. So that might be necessary to have the investment into PvP activities. But then again, like with Eve, it's always a mix, right? It was always a mix for me back in the day. You do some PvE that is like necessary to grind up for some stuff, right? And then you need that money to engage in PvP that brings you even like more money, or you're just like doing that PvP to secure the area where then you PvE and earn money, or rent those systems to people who earn money and pay you taxes for doing that, right? So I think it will be a mix in an end game when it's completed. But right now, obviously, we're not talking about it, because there were like in few patches there were ships that had cargo, which is like miserable, and I just don't even want to talk about it.
Sure.
In future, yeah, probably, yeah. Yeah. I don't know if it's gonna be like just a challenge or just a simple grind, but like it's probably something we're gonna do. Who knows?
Don't take this the wrong way, Cutlet, because it's meant to be an absolute compliment. You seem like the kid who flunked out of high school because you were just too smart and you were bored when it comes to Star Citizen. And
that
Star
was
Citizen,
entirely me.
Yeah,
100% me.
Yeah, like, and I think it's a lot of PvPers and pirates is that they're looking for the challenge and not necessarily much more than that. And the game is so like pieced together, broken, incomplete, that there is no challenge.
That's one of the challenges. That's one of the challenges.
And that's what you
make
find.
The broken piece work together.
Yeah.
Right? To make the broken pieces work. To have the unmature mechanics of QED, of EMP, like of everything.
Yeah.
Almost no ability to take cargo and still make it work. That's one of the challenges. It just sometimes the game, like this patch, it puts you into the condition, into the situation where you cannot even do that because like there is nothing. There are no pieces of puzzles to actually put them together, right?
Yeah.
They're just gone.
Yeah.
And then when it gets like bad, right? If we have at least something to do, we have it. Like, you know, we do it. We do it for fun. I like those little engagements where 1% of people we engage with actually enjoy getting boarded and try to fight off your ship on foot, you know, like when you're getting boarded because we are like in bad position trying to enter the ship and they like try to fight back and all that, and then they tell you, man, that was the best thing that happened to me in this game. I was so bored.
Those are the best moments, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had loads of moments like that with my org. Like, we one of the most fun times we had doing piracy was we recruited someone that was interested in mining to help one of my org mates take 2 rocks out in a Valkyrie and fill up the cargo holds. And then once it was filled, we turned on the one guy and we made him pay one of us through extortion because the org mate was kind of socially manipulating him into actually doing it rather than just being like, oh no. And so we got the money from the extortion. We then killed him and then got the money from the rocks. And then he wrote a Reddit post about it, and it was one of the best stories I've ever like read. It was really, really long, and he had a fantastic time. And yeah, I want to see more kind of gameplay like that, which is so hard to come by right now.
I'll quickly just say I obsessively watch DayZ YouTube videos because that's what they do. Is they take that cold, hard, just cold-blooded elements of what the real world might be like in a situation like that and tell stories with them, and it's really cool.
Yep. Yeah. That's like this kind of RP PvP or something. I don't know what you call it.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to call it.
And the fun is, if you don't deny it, it happens naturally in Star Citizen, right? And it's like the good part with the RP in Star Citizen is you're not like RPing an elf or a dwarf, right? Yeah. You're just a human being, so you don't really have to put any effort into pretending to be like a creature you don't understand, like, or whatever. You just RP naturally because, yeah, I do piracy and I would love to talk to a person instead of killing them, right? If they don't deny it, right? And I maybe just take like 30% of their profit and let them go. And it's not like RPing a gnome. It's just like being a pirate, you know? And that's what I really like about it. Though, like, very little percentage of people like actually go and do that. They just pretend you don't exist. They will cancel your call. They will call you a griefer whatsoever. But yeah, you know, it is life. You cannot force someone into your gameplay. You're like, if they don't want, they will not do it, and it's totally fine. They just pay the consequence. They get exploded. That's it. Easy as that.
And let's get more technical, and we'll start with B here with this stuff. I see a lot of stuff on, like, we just had the flight experience. We've had a lot of posts, videos, things like that about what their plan is going forward with the flight experience. And when you come to space combat, PvP, and Star Citizen, these are the guys that hold the keys to everything for everybody. And are you satisfied with what you've been seeing? I think they're kind of speaking the same tune that they've been talking about for quite some time. Is they're really placing, I mean, it seemed like they placed all their bets on high-speed combat, which didn't work. I just fought a guy flying at 3 million miles per second. You know,
the thing that was so frustrating about that whole scenario was so many PvPers were telling CIG before that the whole thing went live that it wasn't going to work. The way that they described that it was going to work was not going to work, and it didn't work, and they didn't listen.
Yeah.
and how they thought nerfing the offensive capabilities would slow people down blows my mind, because all you end up with is two people who don't know what they're doing, flying at 1,000 meters per second, not hitting each other because of desync, and they're most likely using gimbals, so that makes it even worse, right?
This is
Again,
honestly something I could speak about for hours. Like the changes they made to high speed combat were absolutely ridiculous, and it is something that I try and talk about a lot with the people that I'm training now.
Please do continue, because I don't think I know, the people who watch my Twitch channel and my YouTube channel probably may not know what high speed combat is, and may not know what it did and how to fix it. And the thing I would ask you to do before you go is touch on this capacitor thing, because that is their next big bet that they're making.
Yeah, well, I mean, when it comes to the current high-speed combat changes that they have made, all they really did was kind of nerf your offensive capabilities at higher speeds. So, for example, Gimbals have a slower kind of slew rate, i.e. the speed of which the gimbals will aim on the pip, above SCM. So by flying faster than SCM speed, you're making it harder for you to hit your target with gimbals. It also means missiles take more time to lock on. It means if you're going very fast, it's very hard to keep up with people, especially if they're back strafing, because of the way the kind of acceleration works on ships right now with the different kind of acceleration values that we have on the ships for forward and backwards. So you end up just basically going in a straight line against a lot of bad players, trying your best to catch up to them while also trying to dodge their pretty ineffective fire from most likely ineffective gimbals. And all it does is lead to kind of elongating the inevitable, or at least that's what I've been kind of trying to teach the people that I'm training. That person that is doing that back strafe with auto gimbals, gimping themselves, is not going to win that fight. The person that is attacking is going to win that fight, because eventually you'll catch up to them and you will kill them. But if the other person was, sticking below SCM speed, and if they were engaging in a more kind of aggressive combat style, both of you would be able to react, and attack in a more tactical and challenging and nuanced way in which you can really express skill. And this is why a lot of the time someone will get absolutely smashed in Arena Commander and then go into the PU and do fine, because it's very different play styles. In Arena Commander, you have a barrier that will keep you from just constantly backstrafing in one direction. So people tend to play a lot more aggressive in Arena Commander, which keeps SCM speeds down, which lets people be more effective, which leads to people being able to kill people a lot quicker, and skill expression becomes a lot more obvious in Arena Commander. When it comes to capacitor gameplay and capacitor changes, obviously we don't know the exact details on what that's going to do for combat, and I'm really excited to see kind of more information on that, because we really haven't been given any.
None.
But I am hoping that it's going to limit somewhat the defensive capabilities of ships, i.e. running away and being able to just kind of go backwards forever, and maybe buff a bit the kind of aggression that ships can output by allowing more than just 2 light fighters in the game to be able to boost for more than a couple of seconds. Maybe that would be ideal.
Do you guys have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I have a lot of things to say here, though I'm not the best dogfighter, right? I am a very average skilled player. It's funny though, being the very average skilled player just places you still above like 99% of player base, right?
Yeah.
So I think like if you, and I just want to put the expectations of viewers correctly, right? And I always say it on my streams, right? And I will say it here. If you put like the competitive scene of Star Citizen, I will be in a trash bottom, I think. I will be like in a trash bottom, especially if you consider like the Arena Commander guys. But still, I'm kind of entitled for an opinion. So this is what I hear, what I have to say about this. A recent IC showed very precisely what CAG, what is the approach for the game and development with CAG. The IC was like consisted from two segments, as they usually do, like one topic and then the other topic. The first topic, and I'm sorry I'm going so like from so far, but that's what I have to say, right? So the first topic was technology behind creating rivers on planets, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So in that topic, we have seen a lot of in-depth tools, like from the dev like perspective, how they create rivers, like with such nuances, like it was crazy, right? Behind the tech, and it was cool to watch. At the second part of that ISC, devs talked about combat, and everything that I've learned from that second part from ISC was blah 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 capacitors, blah 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 capacitors, blah 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 capacitors, and nothing else. No tools, no exact thoughts on what their direction in combat would go like for the next year, for example, like how it's going to develop. Nothing. I think right now here we are in this spot that CG doesn't really know the answer. They just hope capacitors, like another buzzword like iCache, server meshing, and theaters of war, will save this situation, but they don't really know if it's going to save the situation, because obviously, who can test that inside the CAG? Who can test that
I was gonna
inside
jump
the CAG?
in. I was going
Right.
to jump in and just say that, like, it seems like the issue here with when it comes to PvP and why it doesn't get as much love is because there's nobody there capable of testing it at a high level, but that's not necessarily true.
I disagree.
I think
that
Bear's
is
there.
completely wrong, because exactly. That's
Right?
exactly what I was
Like,
going to say. One of
what's
the very first.
Bayer.
Bio has been there for years, and
Yeah.
he was one of the very best PvPers this community ever had.
But
You've got
does he have
K-Winter now who
time?
also PvPs.
But does he have time now? I don't know. That's the problem. Who
Yeah.
will test them before that goes to PTU?
Evo?
Like Evo is a meme, right?
Evocati is
Evo
a meme.
is a meme. Do you know that when I stole an Idris
I hit a nerve.
on
I
one
hit
of
a
my
nerve.
streams, when I stole an Idris, and it was probably either me railgunning someone on the pad of the crew station, or one of my crewmates that were like in turrets, or one of my escorts and ships who killed a prospector, I think, on the pad, maybe. I don't even remember this. I got kicked from the server because a group of Evocatis started crying to the devs right on the stream. So that is the state of Evocati, right? I don't know a lot.
I will say now, right, from my standpoint, I got to be very careful what I say, being Evocati.
Mhm.
But what I'm sure I'm fine saying is, as somebody who is Evocati, when I jump into an Evocati patch, I find it very difficult to find anybody who is at a minimal, like, who is fairly decent at PvP to test stuff with.
And on top of that,
Like, it's like pulling teeth.
This isn't incorrect to say either, or breaking NDA. It's very open and obvious that the state of Evocati playtests typically aren't the state of what a live build would look like. So when we finally get to the live build, or even an open PTU build, the state of that Evocati build was, crashy or buggy, or there's more issues with it than to actually test the features. And what I was going to jump in with Cutlet was not necessarily that there's nobody at the company that's able to test it, but are they just... I don't think they're throwing like wet noodles at the wall and seeing which one sticks. I think, and this is like crazy, like a stupid thing to say, I think, but I feel that it's not. I've been running
I think
a server for a game called Eco, and in that game, and I've mentioned this a couple times in recent videos and stuff. In that game, you're able to make laws, and the law system is by using if and then statements. And you will, in your mind, create a scenario in your head of, if I use this law, this is how people will play it. And they've mentioned, this is the vehicle experience team saying this a lot, is they will not. It's very difficult to make a decision based on what will work and what will not, without having us involved to see what the unintended consequences are. Because you will make a decision, but you will never know those outlier weird situations because they all come up and it's ridiculous. Like, I made one change one place and it completely broke something somewhere else, and it was the most frustrating thing ever. And because of that, I don't want this, because it's starting to turn that way a little bit, is I don't want it to turn into the let's bash the CIG devs video, because the unintended consequences are inevitable, right?
Yeah, but like, it's not that I'm bashing. I'm just saying it's
frustrating.
Why we see that depth in like developing rivers, but we cannot see a single formulated word, even if it's going to be wrong in the long term about combat. And that's why what you said about the Evocati, that's actually what I wanted to point out. So Evocati is in such a state, like, it can be broken, it can be crashing every minute. I totally get it. The point is, then we go to the open PTU or whatever, wave 1, and then the communication is much less, and decisions are already made, and you cannot shift it too much.
Yeah.
And then we go into live,
and that's when you should be making the decisions.
Yeah, and then we go into live, and we get into this like a quarter of dead game or whatever, because no decisions are actually made, like no changes are made, like monumental changes that were like to the things that were wrong or something.
The live build should be the 0.1.
You have this like fraction of time that maybe some Evocati will put up a good idea into more direct chat with the developers and their like closed chat or something, and then that's it. GG. So
again, I think a big part of the problem, sorry to interrupt, is the wrong people, or rather, we don't have the right people, I think, in some of these test builds. I've been saying this for a long time. People wonder why, we end up with weapons that one-shot players in ships, right?
Every patch!
And it's because nobody tested that on the various, like, ships that are in the game.
Yeah.
And, like, how a weapon might interact with an NPC ship could be entirely different to a player ship, right? And
that's actually a very fun
example.
Very fun
PvP
example.
is also, before you jump in, PvP is also think in a very different way to the rest of the community, which is why we need more people testing this stuff, because I don't want these bugs and exploits that ultimately will be used against people who might not be into PvP to make it into the game, right? Let the PvP community find this crap that's broken before it goes to live.
This is a very good example with distortion scatterguns. So I've been laughing and talking about distortion scatterguns since like I was streaming back in 3.4. Like, we all knew they were desync, they didn't work, and I always put up those numbers on streams and Oracle, and like, guys, look at the amount of damage it deals. It deals like 15k DPS, right? Imagine the day when they actually fix the desync. And the first thing, every patch, like I do a lot of testing with distortion because it's like very closely tied to piracy. And like the first thing that I do when they fix the distortion desync on that PTU day 1, when it's available to me, to a wave 1 user, I go and test them and I see that they work. And I message Bayer saying, yo, you fixed the distortion desync, like all the AoE weapons desync. Nerf them now. Like, the values just don't work. And he said, well, it's already kind of too late. We will just see how it works out. Guess what patch we had?
We probably shouldn't call out individual devs. I think that's a little unfair.
No. I'm not calling out Bea like in any kind of way. Like he's just like a way for me to provide feedback.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he did something wrong in no way, right? Sorry for mentioning. Okay, I contacted a random dev, and and I said that, and he said like it's kind of too late, or we will look how it's gonna work out. And guess what patch we had? We had a patch of everyone running distortion scatterguns, one-shotting shields from every other ship, and it was like impossible to properly play.
My biggest issue with that just in general is and this is one thing I've been crying for a little bit better communication on is why is it too late, and why is it so difficult to fix something completely game-breaking like that in because it does seem like just changing some numbers. Explain to me, as the non-game developer, as the ignorant person when it comes to how this stuff works, why it's too late, why that is so difficult. Because that is the thing that is the most confusing to me when it comes to PvP, is when they're, hey, we missed something. The unintended consequence that we talked about. Well, fix it the next day. Why isn't that a reality? Why isn't that possible? And the thing with me is I know it is possible, and I don't know why it doesn't happen. We know that they get multiple builds a day in their studio. We know that it goes from the dev's desk to QA. QA gives feedback. All right, we adjust it. We get a coder in here. He does that. You know, when it comes to something like that, why does it take so long?
I have no idea, man. Some things are just values, right? Some things are just values. There has to be no like lines of code added. You just change the value. It's like, okay, another example. Sorry to keep you like with all the examples. Another good example. So the old box talk about the boxes that drop from the cargo ships, right? Mm-hmm. So I've talked to another dev that was not Bayer actually, and I will not now name calls, right? So we'll be more correct on that, right? So on my stream, they showed up and we were talking, very friendly talk, by the way.
I already know who it is, too.
Yeah, but whatever, doesn't matter, right? So we were discussing the prison stuff, and then we were discussing the boxes stuff, right? And I clearly stated the problems with how much effort of multitude of people in a team knowing everything about this game it takes to do a proper act of piracy, right? Not just killing someone, but a proper act of piracy, right? And then how little they pay out, right? And I said, just guys, no one is asking you for now at least, for some kind of crazy pirate gameplay, All we ask, so we're actually busy like playing the game properly, right? All we ask is just increase the values on those boxes. And I specifically asked, was it hard? Like maybe there is something I don't know, like how the game is structured, so it is hard. It may be. And the answer was no. It's like not hard. You can just change it across the board, and then they said like I even made a proposal to like just drop one box which has like the amount of loot we feel is fine for that act of piracy to happen, which I think is wrong because it removes the aspect of looting. You have to spend time while you loot those boxes, and like people who are going against you have to have that time to get you while you are on foot, so you have to have a protection, so it's more engaging and interesting. So I feel one box is totally bad. I just would like to have like more values in the boxes. So that developer engaged with me, and he even said he proposed something to that. Where is this? Like, what are the instances, what are the letter inside of CAG that even that highly positioned dev proposed and it never went anywhere, right? after it's not even like QA. That's not even QA, right? That's the weird thing. That's not even QA. If it would be a QA guy, that would be like a long way to go, right? But it wasn't. It was a much higher, like, in terms of like hierarchy position, and it went nowhere, which would be just, as he said himself, it's not hard, right? It's an easy, it's just values. It's like,
Here's the thing that drove me nuts. This
What?
happened fairly recently when they put the it was an investigation mission at a star fair, and occasionally there would be a box there that was extremely highly valued. Remember that? And they took that out immediately. Immediately.
Yep.
It just I don't understand what the, and I know why they took it out immediately. Like, it was
Red
never
envelopes?
intended to be there, and it was my fault. It was found. The dev who ruined it was watching my stream at the time. I apologize to everyone in the Star Citizen community for that one, because that died on my stream that day. But the
are you talking about the red envelopes?
yeah, the red envelope box.
Oh, it was so cool.
Yeah.
You doing this whatever investigation missions. You had actually a chance to engage in gameplay to find something that you can profit from, right?
Yeah.
It's so bad for gameplay, man. But still, we can have carracks filled with billions of money. The refineries are still bugged, and it's not fixed, right? And there is no even mining gameplay. And the trading is still broken. That's not fixed. But removing those boxes that really, literally engaged you in a non-PvP but interesting gameplay that even I liked. I went to those sites searching for those boxes to
Yeah.
have fun.
Yep.
And it was removed. Oh my god, 125k per box. That's insane. Oh wait, I'll just make one click in an RCOP terminal and sell Hephaestonite for 75.5 million per click.
I hate to be the moderator of your podcast, but I feel like we're drifting away from PvP a bit.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Sorry,
but the reason
I
I brought the box up was not to absolutely trigger Cutlet, but it has been sort of entertaining to watch him just lose his mind. But the reason I brought that up is that was a very similar fix to what I feel like causes a lot of issues in when it comes to imbalance in PvP. And we're not looking for them to balance. I'm gonna put words in your mouth here, but feel free to respond to this. Is I don't think we're looking for them to be perfectly balanced with all these rock, paper, scissors mechanics at this stage of the game. But when there's a complete outlier, I think it's the C788s now seem like that outlier weapon. I'm not sure. Why are we still dealing with the issues? I think one of the best answers and responses are from playing devil's advocate and being the CIG side of this conversation here, since they can't defend themselves in this conversation, is that if that's the only fix that they're going to put in, and it's an issue right now, do you know how many how many gigabytes, how many petabytes are being downloaded of that patch if that's the one thing that they fix? So that is what goes back to that conversation of Evocati is not doing the job that it could be doing, and that the PTU should really be that stage where the feedback is given, and maybe they're not utilizing the PTU as much as they could be for situations like that. The live build, the 0.1 patch should not be the patch where things are starting to work. It's getting really frustrating having to have a 3.12 or whatever happens in 3.13 go live, and then that is where everything is out of balance when it comes to PvP, when it comes to any part of Star Citizen, but specifically with PvP for the weapons. And why aren't we utilizing that? And
I think they have to have task forces also, like a specific group of people who will nail down a specific things.
100%.
again, like, I'm not Evocati, so I'll brag about it. Obviously, everyone knows about Star Citizen leaks. I think Star Citizen leaks leaked the information about them creating task forces, but I think those task forces are down for totally different reasons, right? So
Is there PvP? Was there
Evocati
a
is right.
PvP one?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Evocati,
I don't know anything
for
about
me
it.
right now, personally, in my mind, is just a meat shield for 30Ks, and
Which is what it should be.
yeah, that's what it became, at least for now, in my vision. So I even stopped like really wanting to get to Evocati because that's just like laughable, right? I don't care anymore at this point. I just don't care. If they don't want
I feel
me,
like the point of
forget it.
Evocati was to get the state of Star Citizen into a place where it could be tested properly, and then once you're
Yeah.
there,
I'm just
that's
gonna say now,
yeah.
I find it so. Can I swear?
Go
Am I allowed
ahead,
one
yeah, of
swear
course.
word? I find it so fucking funny that SpaceCutlet isn't an Evocati because he's the person that finds all of the bugs that CIG can't find. He's
Yeah.
the one that finds the way into the Aegis. He's the one that finds the way into the Javelin. And yet, I'm not quite sure what's going on, but like, they
Yeah.
fucking hate you.
Whatever. It's like some political situations, especially here in our region. It's like sometimes the main power just ignores like someone exists and they pretend they don't exist. It's fine. I don't really care anymore. Like, I was really frustrated by it at start, but I don't really care. Guys, we're deviating from like the topic so badly.
Okay, you guys are the PvPers. Bring us back.
Listen.
I don't know where to go in this conversation now.
Listen, I actually
Hilts?
opened my mouth.
Yeah.
I actually opened my mouth to continue on what B was saying, and I totally drifted away. I'm so
What were
sorry.
you saying, B?
Yeah, she was talking
still
about
alive?
the speed, like the speeds. She was talking
I can't
about
even remember now.
the combat speeds and all that. And
Oh
yeah,
my God.
and it's all like deviated into this talk why
Yes.
certain decisions aren't made.
Our capacitor
So,
is
yeah,
going to fix that.
Yes, Capacitor is gonna fix everything. I think they're
gonna
very. I think they're like they don't know what capacitors are themselves, and when it's gonna work something like you just use all your capacitor to drag your opponent into 1 kilometer fight again, and then frustrate him until the end. So I think one of my main points about the speed. Let's get a bit more technical again. I started with me not being a good dogfighter, right? I remember now. So about the speed, what I think is really necessary for Star Citizen, if they want to have a way to transfer from above SCM, is first define high speed, your maximum speed of your ship by its ability to accelerate. Let's think what is maximum speed. Obviously, everyone knows there is no maximum speed in space besides the speed of light, to our knowledge. So maximum speed in a game is just a sliced representation of ability to infinitely accelerate, right? It's just a game design and engine limitation to just because it's there, right? We don't want like accelerating constantly somewhere like far away. So it's there, right? So CAG wants combat to be on SCM speeds. They said that, right? They just don't know how to deal with it. I think first they have to define the maximum speeds of ships, and those should be defined by the ability of ships to accelerate. If a ship can accelerate on a certain vector at that amount of Gs, it means it can reach that amount of maximum speed on that vector. When I say on that vector, that means if you look at the ship, like make a plan of it, look at top down, right? Every direction from the ship, it has different acceleration. Like forward would be in most cases the biggest one. Like side strafe, back strafe would be retros would be like the second strong, probably, depending on a ship. Then like the side up strafes and up down strafes and side strafes. So that acceleration on that vector should be the defining factor for the maximum speed. So if for example, let's say we want the maximum speed for a Gladius, like if the Gladius is the golden rule of CAG, then and we want a Gladius to go 1 kilometer per second, so its acceleration is like this. The forward acceleration without boosting, we don't take boosting. So we should define a formula, we should fit that. So now his side acceleration and side max is like this, and the side maximum speed is smaller. So that will be the first step to do that. It will set the maximum speeds of ships in a proper balance. So slow accelerating ships can go slower, higher accelerating ships can go higher, and then it still doesn't remove the problem of how you don't really let people to get to those speeds when you just want a good dogfight, right?
Yeah.
That is a matter of penalties, but the penalties they did, as B pointed out and Noodle pointed out correctly, were insane silly. They promote running away, like they promote, instead of trying harder in a fight, the moment you get stressed, the moment you feel threatened, they promote you to press Shift W, because you know on the high speed you will get less damage or no damage at all.
Yeah.
That is just silly, right? You penalize the offensive capabilities, just as Noodle said, on high speed. So the high speed maneuvering is your protection from any kind of damage. So what you have to do is you have to cripple an ability for people to gain high velocity in a short amount of time, right? I call it nerf curve, right? You can call it whatever. It has to be like after the SCM speed, there has to be a formula. I mean, I will not come up with a formula right now, like suddenly, obviously, but there has to be a formula that will create a penalty for acceleration above SCM speed. And the faster you go, more penalties are applied. You can look on this logic from another perspective. You can look at this logic from the perspective of creating an imaginary space drag above SCM speed, right? So the moment you go above SCM speed, you just can barely accelerate towards that vector, and it will take you time to get to higher speed, right? So which will in the end be something like you can accelerate fast until SCM. If you try to run away, you will slowly gain speed. It's a problem of a human being not being able just physically to properly react in time on your change of the vector. So making that change will give the time for a chasing party to change their vector. Why everybody is laughing? I'm being too serious, right? I'll just stop.
No, you're so big brain that I think a lot of us are lost. I'm lost.
It's really good to listen to someone that understands these concepts, honestly.
Okay.
Keep going, Cutlet. We're good.
Keep going.
Shit.
I'm just
I feel
laughing
bad
because
right
I'm
now.
lost.
Okay, like
I just like explosions. All right.
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make you explode things faster.
Somebody called him
right?
Space Einstein in Twitch chat, by the way, and that's what started me laughing.
Basically, you create a formula that will penalize the acceleration abilities, heavily penalize, not lightly, not slightly, like they did like 2 years or 3 years ago. Heavily penalize accelerations into the vector you're trying to accelerate above SCM speed. So you cannot just zoom out and get 1 kilometer per second in a second. You have to give the person a possibility to change their vector and chase you, right?
Do you think
that's one of the things.
Agreed, yeah.
Do you think like something like a capacitor, which we have to guess what it is, because I said like literally the only thing they've said about capacitors is the word capacitor. That's
Actually,
it.
no,
Exactly.
that's not true.
Okay,
that is
bring
not
it.
true. They
Bring
have vaguely explained what it is before. It's exactly what it sounds like, a capacitor. It's a
capacitor,
volume of energy that you expel, and then you have to wait for it to recharge. That's how they've explained it, right? So
is that volume
That's what
a
I'm saying.
single
Is that what you
capacitor?
want?
Is there a
No, no,
capacitor
no.
for guns?
There
Is
is
there a capacitor for engines?
Yes, you
Essentially,
will
yeah.
have capacitor for energy, guns, and shields. Is basically like an elite engines, and you make decisions depending on what you're doing in a fight. But what I'm
How
saying,
does Elite Dangerous work?
You basically, depending on what you're doing, you want to buff your shields, or you're going for an attack run, you buff totally your weapons, so like overclock them or whatever to get more damage, and you constantly play with it.
So it's about
it's like
choice.
you can't, for example, if you're using attritions, you can't just sit there, like they overheat at the moment, right?
Yeah.
But you're not just going to be able to sit there holding fire, because eventually you will run out of power in your capacitor, and you
Sure.
have to wait for it to recharge. It means that you'll be playing cat and mouse more, right, in terms of a dogfight. Like, if I'm chasing somebody who isn't necessarily that good, yeah, I'll be able to keep shooting up until I run out of capacitor, at which point I then have to start flying defensively until my power regens for the weapon.
And what I'm saying
because
is gonna
but hold on, but because you've shot so much, does that reduce your ability to chase that person who's running away?
If he didn't have capacitor reserves in his engine, yes, it will. Probably. Like, I kind of vaguely understand what they want to do. And this is just a guesstimation. But the point is, what I'm saying, what's going to happen next when the capacitors are in, it's going to be either unplayable, like they will be so low, no one will be... Remember those patches when they introduced heat?
Oh my god,
like,
yes.
No one could fly ships.
To bring this up.
Right? No one could fly ships. Like, Hornets were just... They couldn't just take off, right? So either that's going to be that, or it's going to be the other way. It's going to be same high-speed combat. Like, the moment someone feels threatened, full cap to, like, engines and burst away. That's going to be the same shit.
I think initially everything will be entirely broken, because you have to bear in mind that they're going to have to rebalance every single ship, right?
Yep.
With that mechanic in mind, and they're not going to get it right. So set your expectations. Totally. The one thing that I am worried about is that they kind of the way they've discussed like heat, the issue of heat with a lot of ships. And I think that there's no real argument that, you know, I like the idea of heat as a mechanic, but it's overwhelming on a lot of ships right now, right?
It makes a lot of ships just completely unusable.
Yeah, and they, whenever this has been brought up, they've always said capacitors, wave capacitors, and I'm a little worried that might not actually solve the issue. But yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Wait and see, yeah.
Do we have a timeline of when we think these capacitors coming in? Because regardless of whether we think they're going to work or not, they placed all of their bets on this. This is one thing that they did say about accelerations, because I mean, you're really talking a lot about accelerations, Cutlet. This is a question that's been asked multiple times. Is like a lot of the solutions could be resolved by raising accelerations or something like that. I've heard. I don't know exactly what that means, but it is mentioned a lot by the Legacy Instructional Series guys. Cutlet, we're hearing saying acceleration, right? And they don't want I've heard, I remember this almost like it was yesterday, is when that was asked on an SCL, they said this pretty much word for word was that they want to try capacitors first before they go, and then they would consider going back to not to the drawing board, but would consider going back to adjusting accelerations, because they're concerned about the effects that it will have on the game as a whole.
Yeah, what I think is, like, people have to realize, to get away from your opponent, you need like 2 seconds of pressing Shift W. That's it.
Yeah.
So if they will limit those to, if they limit those 2 seconds by capacitor, that means overall gameplay will not be possible, right? If capacitor will not be able to give you like those 2 seconds, that means it will not be able to give you anything, right? If it gives you those like 2-3 seconds, then it will not solve the problem of high-speed combat. That's why I'm very positive on a nerf curve above SCM speed to be implemented. Like, because everything above SCM is just a slice of it, like an infinite acceleration. It's just done for like traveling. It's not meant to be used for combat. It has to be like heavily penalized.
What we really have to ask.
That's my standpoint.
Yeah, what we really have to ask though is, I think this This problem goes all the way to 2.0. All the way
No,
back
this
to 2.0.
problem goes.
It goes to 2.0.
It had different. It had different
Hear me out.
stages.
Hear me out,
Okay.
though. The reason that it starts with 2.0 is it's when we left Arena Commander, and the world got bigger. So the need to fly at a higher speed was more important, right? And they tried to come up with a solution to solve that, and unfortunately, that solution broke PvP and has been broken since the day they came up with that solution, which is what I think you were referencing. Was post 2.0 was the solution. But the thing here is long distance travel at non-quantum travel speeds rarely exists. How far are we going?
Definitely.
When we quantum travel into a moon or planet, I think we're about 25 kilometers from the surface is typical, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong there. We don't need to be going at incredibly high speeds at that point. I mean, CIG already completely negates our time with riding on a train, an elevator takes forever to come back. So the idea of having to fly at incredibly high speeds that make the server struggle with prediction and all these other things in the first place. Would you? I'll ask either Moist or Beast, since Cutlet had a lot of time, and then Cutlet, feel free to respond, of course. Do we think that is something that is a solution? They said that they don't want to lower the speed. That this was just something they said this week or a couple weeks ago on SEL. Is they don't, or in the I think it was in the vehicle experience Q&A, they don't want to just lower speeds. But there is a cap on what speeds are. So if that's really causing problems, I don't know. What do you guys think about that in general? And my
I will
thought
say
on that?
one small sentence, and I'll give all the time to the guys.
Sure.
I think you're traveling over SCM more times than you actually notice that. So that is kind of required.
Over
though,
SCM, yes, but at the extremely high above SCM is what I'm saying. Let's use 700 as an example instead of 1200.
I think most players, at least this is what I'm finding when I'm training people that are quite new to the game, most people find it hard to actually understand what speed they're going, because keeping an eye on your speed is an extra thing you're having to do on top of what you're already doing.
Very good point.
But in terms of the higher kind of end PvP and where I see this whole idea of speed happening in the future, I think Cutler is completely right on the idea that acceleration into vector is the most important thing that could be done right now to keep people at lower speeds for longer. Because honestly, it doesn't matter how fast you can go when what really matters, especially when it comes to combat, is how fast you get to that higher speed. If you're both playing aggressively and you're both trading the control within a dogfight, then a lot of the time you're keeping yourself below SCM anyway, because you want to be aggressive, because you want to get the kill. If someone's playing defensive, then they're already putting themselves on the back foot and they're already losing, which means if they have the opportunity to just accelerate to ridiculous speeds ridiculously quickly, all they're doing is, as I said earlier, elongating the inevitable.
I'm going to look at this from a different point of view, and I would say that I think one of the issues with speed in this game is you actually are traveling a lot slower than you... The speed that you see on your speedometer in the game, I think is actually a lot slower than it feels, right?
Because it's relative to what the other person is going, right?
It's yeah, exactly. But another problem is that I also think that in terms of speed management, the game isn't overly intuitive. And an example of that is, I'm going to mention this, and some people who are older to the community will probably facepalm a little bit when I mention it. Space dust, right? Space dust we used to have more space dust at one point, but it was added for a reason. And there's a reason space games have space dust. It's so you get a sense of speed. You can't have a sense of speed if you don't see anything in your immediate area moving around you. It's why when you're around Grimhex, you actually get a much better sense of speed because you see the asteroids going by. I think ultimately one of the things that CIG will probably do, other than just add more space dust, is encourage combat into more areas where there are space stations
Obstacles,
and debris and stuff like that. But not only that, when I suspect that when we get the new UI, we will also essentially get UI elements that give us like almost like not a grid but dots, right? Like a dotted grid. And I think that might have been one of the things that we saw on the new UI concept, right? And I suspect that will be something that you can choose to turn on or off. But that would give you a sense of speed. But again, it's not, the game doesn't do a very good job of teaching new players not to go fast. There is no real penalty to going fast. So ultimately, you end up in this scenario where you're traveling so fast that your network connections can't deal with it, the servers can't deal with it, you're shooting all over the friggin' shop, and people only learn to slow down when other people teach them.
Tell them to.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That is
Exactly.
a problem. This is an issue with, again, I don't want it to seem, well, I guess I am blaming CIG, but it's down to the game design to solve this problem, you know.
It shouldn't be on people like me and Noodle to teach new players these concepts. It should be something that the game is doing for us.
Absolutely.
Like, look at the relative speed. They reintroduced after the years the relative speed. So the relative speed to your target is represented to the right of the distance to the target, which in fight is totally unreadable.
Yes.
It's just unreadable. You cannot look there. The moment you look there, it means you're not looking at your target. Actually, you're not aiming your pip. You're not looking at at your shields. You're not looking at his shields, and etc., etc., etc. The moment you look there, you lose the control of the fight. How good it would be if the same value was represented graphically by a vertical bar that goes up or down, right? Just a
100%.
slider, a PvP slider.
Oh
right?
my god!
That is that goes up
It
or
lives!
down with green color or red color.
If
somewhere.
it's green, you're approaching. If it's red, they're pulling away from you.
Yeah, or
that
vice
would be
versa.
just
Doesn't matter.
something,
Vice
you know,
versa.
It would, that
For
would
me,
be
it
really
would
nice.
probably easier red when you're approaching, actually, because you're closing distance, because
Danger,
that's
danger.
very important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
danger,
guess, yeah.
danger, not to overshoot him, right? So you see that, and then you see the distance. Okay, we're getting close. I should get that slider to the middle, right? So I get in line with him. How better that would be, and that put that slider somewhere where you constantly look when you're focused on the target. It's the same value. It's just the UI representation. It's one of the reasons how can you do that. But it doesn't mean like everything doesn't still stands true with the like limiting the speeds and making it just impossible, like making it harder to go in a straight line somewhere, right? So those things. I'm shutting up again. I'm sorry.
No, I'm listening. I'm thinking of where to go next. But if anybody wants to add to that a little bit,
Like I can add to the balance overall. I can add to the balance, not about the speed.
Yeah, because I think we've touched on speed, and we know, like, we just know they're not going to do anything until these capacitors come in and they give it a shot. That is where they place their bets. You guys don't seem to agree that it's the best bet. But what can we do?
I think it should be another, like, I think capacitors should be another depth of gameplay in combat that promotes knowledge and skill on when to press what buttons.
Agreed,
But you shouldn't rely on it as something that will save and change the current situation. That's my standpoint on it, right? It's actually very funny. Like half a year ago or whatever, I saw a thread on Spectrum by Lykaza, the leader of Liberty Reapers, I think, right?
Yeah.
And it was so funny to see this guy in the thread saying about the speed literally the same thing I was like talking about for years.
I
It was
actually
such a
remember that
good
post.
it was
Yeah.
such a good read. I was like, yo, he literally put in words, word by word, what I mean and what I constantly say on how to deal with the speed. That is a really good read. And also on top of that, he actually came up with a solution how to slow ships down if they stop pointing to the vector they were accelerating it. That was a very good read. Like, splendid, fantastic. So moving on from the speed issue is the balance issue. The balance issue is, I know, like, you're gonna have a laugh here, right? Noodle, you know all about that. B, you know all about that too. We have two types of ships in games. Two types. No, don't look at the amount of combat ships we have in game. We have two types: the ships that can scuff pip and the ships that are dead.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's
Yeah, 100%.
That's two types of ships we have in game. So the pip scuffing ships are what? Arrow, Talon, and probably like Gladius, maybe something else. And then there are
Not
ships
competitively at the moment. The Gladius, the
yeah,
Gladius perform.
even not the Gladius, how fun it is.
My poor Saber.
Yeah, and
Oh,
then the
no.
ships that are dead. You can arguably put, and there is like this myth of Vanguards being overpowered ships. Like, oh my god, Vanguards are so overpowered, they should be nerfed. The problem with people looking at the Vanguards is they see them as a one-on-one boat. People don't look further than one-on-one agreed duels in a predefined conditions. Vanguards are actually very underpowered ships if you scale up the combat. So
Wait, is this with or without turret gameplay in mind? Because the moment
right
you throw
now-
somebody, you throw somebody into that turret, and I would definitely not say they're underpowered.
right now I'm talking about with turret in its current condition, without any how do you call it?
All right,
Ooh,
all right.
they're
no,
disagreeing.
Carry on.
They're disagreeing.
Yeah, we disagree. It obviously depends on the turret guy, but if you scale the combat again, right? Okay, there is the argument for a turret. If there is someone in turret, there are two players already. Two players. You're taking two players, not one. So put two ships against it. Two ships, not one, and then it's just dead.
No,
It's just dead.
No, if you have right, say I'm fighting two guys in a sentinel. Depending on how good the guy is on the like, yeah, obviously. Actually, I fought Redlier in his sentinel, and I was in my arrow, and it was essentially a stalemate, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Now, if he had a turret gunner on there, I would not have just been able to float in front of him, wiggling my pip around, right? I would have actually had to keep moving around.
But add another you to the battle, or add a BeeBerrie with you.
Oh, I thought you meant add a second ship on, have the turret gunner instead on from the.
No. I mean, that's two players. That's a two-player investment, right? That's
two arrows would absolutely smash one, one Vanguard, even with a turret.
It doesn't work out. It doesn't work out. It's just only the Vanguards are kind of tanky only when we're talking one-on-one fight against not very competent pilot where you just face tank them. And everything else, the Vanguards just fall apart because they don't scale with increase of combat. And that's another talk to armor, right? And I may or may not get into that later.
To be fair, I would say that's more an issue with turrets, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Surely.
Yeah, turrets need to be far more effective.
Yeah, definitely. So so we have like Arrow and the Talon, and then we have everything else, where in everything else, probably Vanguards do dominate, because none of the other ships can scuff the pip like that, unless there is a big like skill gap between the pilot of the Vanguard and the like.
Is scuffing the
my-
pip something that everybody is doing unintentionally, just through
Yes.
flying the ship? Okay, I wasn't sure if it was something that is like a
Like,
PvP
no.
or sweaty
No.
tactic,
No.
or something that happens organically.
It's what we do unintentionally. So
Okay.
basically, you use your strafes.
It's not unintentional. I do it intentionally. I don't want people to hit me. I'm in an agile ship. I'm in a light fighter with one size 1 shield. I don't want to be hit. I'm going to do everything at my disposal to avoid being hit.
Okay, unintentionally is the wrong word.
Let's slow down. Let's slow down for a second. Hold on.
Instinctively.
Yeah, let's slow down for a second, just so we're clear on what that is, because I've heard a lot of discussion about macroing this shit and all these other weird things.
I can go into this, like,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah,
But
it's
before we do, let's just talk about what let's get super basic and simple for someone like me who is literally like, I am your like perfect example here. Have not PvP'd other than the Vandal Mask event in years. Okay, so when I'm jumping into this is something that's totally kind of new to me. Yes, pips are moving around a little bit, but not impossible for me to track, let's say. At times, it's annoying and it's difficult, but I'm not seeing them moving a lot other than with like something like an arrow. But that's an agile ship, and like when I flew my arrow, I barely got hit. But I wasn't doing anything what I thought was malicious, right? I was strafing around and I was trying to be what an arrow should be. But yeah, feel free to jump in here and share your thoughts on this.
I think there's two concepts that people really get confused with when it comes to the idea of like pip evasion. You can call this kind of tactical gameplay like scuffing the pip, where a lot of players will be like, told by someone that doesn't really know what they're doing, just move your stick around or just spam, your different strafes and just try and make that pip, wobble around. And
that's what I was doing.
And be hard to hit. Exactly. That is completely wrong. All you're doing there is throwing off your own aim. And for someone like me, I can tell when someone is doing that. And honestly, it's laughable. Their pip is barely moving. What you want to be aiming for is vector control. You want to be changing the actual direction that your ship is traveling. That is where you get the drastic movements in the pip from, let's say, left to right or up to down, and that takes a lot of skill to actually perform correctly while also aiming on your target and managing speed control, managing distance control. It's not something that's easy, and it's not something that a macro can just instantly do for you. People with macros are honestly laughable. They are not challenging to beat, but a skilled player at the game that knows these concepts and knows how to manipulate their ship, those people are fun to fight. Those people know what they're doing, and those people are the ones that you want to be, being taught by, which is why we've set up our training thing.
Yeah, because
you're right then.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, and I'll join the training, of course, like I said earlier.
Like the part of pip scuffing, occurs naturally while you utilize your own strafes to benefit your aim.
Yeah.
Right? So you use the strafes, right? You don't use only basically the strafes are your finest tuning to your aim, right? You do the rolls, you do the pitch and yaw, and you fine tune your aim with strafe. At least that's what I do. And for example, in my occasion, because I'm a mouse and keyboard player, my strafes are binary. They're like digital. Either 0 or 1, right? I cannot do them slowly. So my pip aiming is very I just got used to it, right? It is very binary. I just do left, right, a bit left, a bit right, a bit up, a bit down, and I'm on the pip, right? But that also makes pips, and obviously with accelerating into vectors and all that, and it makes all this weird movements that probably are a bit too much, because in the end it ends up being a pip scuff fest when two arrows fight. I remember I was fighting higher tier players from Shadow Moses, and it was like this, and it
Yeah, but
it
here's
ended.
the
It
thing,
ended.
dude.
It just it
I
lasted.
just ran out of ammo
it
today.
lasted
Basically, was
endlessly.
how it
Endlessly. There was no end
Here's
to
the
it.
thing. Again, you can't blame players for necessarily wanting to fly evasive,
Oh no,
right? Now,
I'm not
don't get me wrong.
blaming.
No, let me talk, dude. Give you a chance to talk, right? But here's the thing. Two skilled players fighting each other very often ends in stalemate, or at the very least, those fights go on for a long time. So yeah, it's people talk as if wiggling pips at each other, right, in arrows is a bad thing. I don't think it is. I actually really
It's some of the most fun gameplay.
It's awesome. Me and B fighting each other is awesome. The first time I fought B in Arena Commander, I had the time of my life, and we fought for like an hour, and it was so good. I love fighting people like Aiko. I love fighting people like Riles, because it's so satisfying to finally get the kill. And yeah, it's a long fight, but that is fine. It's okay to have long fights. A lot of people go on about, how the time to kill is too long, how the time to kill is too short. It's as good or short as the skilled player in the pilot seat,
I agree.
I feel like I disagree a little bit. Isn't it also
I
at
don't know if I wanted
at the state of the server too, whether or not your shots hit or whatever?
It is. Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah,
It
there's
is,
lots
but
of variables that affect things.
Sure.
I just think like there should be more to it, right? There should be some kind of like outmaneuvering actually, besides like, because like when you fight an experienced player, all you do is just concentrate on the pip. They're in front of you, you're in front of them, and any delusional positional advantage you may get comes only out of the server desync, and that's it.
Yeah.
And that what bothers me the most. Not that like you have to deal with the pip. It's like there is no like kind of ability to overturn, like make a good move to outturn them or something. It's just like this face-to-face tanking pips. That's what probably bothers me. Like I don't even have the exact answer, but that's what bothers me. I don't know.
You guys ready for some? Go ahead, Moise.
I was just going to say, somebody in chat said time to kill is too low. Well, I was in my arrow earlier, and I killed somebody else in an arrow in about 5 seconds flat this morning.
All I did was miss my shots and run out of ammo, and then go repair and come back and try and fight somebody else. So it's again, I think it comes down to exactly what I think Cutlet said or Moise said. It's down to the skill of the pilot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Like if I tried to fight B, I'll never kill her. She's a way better pilot than me.
Yeah. So let's. You guys ready for some? We're pretty long at this point. We're at 2 hours already.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's.
I'm going to have to jump off here because I'm actually doing a training session with some people in AT. It was meant to be going on at 4:30, but we've run quite long. But this has been a really interesting conversation.
Actually, sort of perfect, B, because then when a guest comes in, they'll fill in your spot on the overlay.
Yeah.
It sort of works out. I want to say, B, it's been absolutely wonderful having you on, and I am looking forward to the next time. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you would be.
I look forward to seeing you at our training sessions.
I will. I'll message you about like timings and stuff for that stuff.
Yeah. We're very like new. We're getting all set up, but it's going well, and we've got a lot of people on the list like waiting for training, and I'm really excited to see it kick off.
Awesome. Before you go, BeeBerrie, I'm going to pull you down, stay muted, and you're going to fill her spot until we bring the callers in, which is going to be very soon. Okay? So, B, I guess we will say goodbye to you. Thank you again so much, and enjoy your training. Bye-bye. And then we'll bring BB in.
Are we pulling people already? Okay.
That was seamless.
Yeah. That was perfect, right? And it actually filled my face in there, which is sort of problematic, but I can... we can maybe fix it, but we'll see. So what I want to do right now with you guys real quick is some lightning round stuff, and I wish B was able to stay for this, because I think it kind of would have been her forte as well. The State of Star Citizen PvP is the title, so let's touch on a few things. Gimbals versus fixed.
I know exactly what B would say. They're absolute trash. Don't use them, everybody. Learn how to fly fixed, because if you learn how to fly fixed, you always have the... Well, actually, this is what I say. At least you have the option of using gimbal, whereas if you only ever use gimbal and you don't know how to use fixed, you can only ever use gimbal, which can easily be counted. Thanks, everybody, for listening to my TED Talk.
Cutlet?
I think it's situational. I
Okay.
hope to think they will polish in future gameplay. So it is actually situational. It's a matter of choice. Like depending on what ship you fly, and if you know you're whom you are going against, you should either consider, and what are your goals of in combat. You should consider like either fixed or gimbal, and that's what I do.
Okay.
Depends on the target right now. It's
Fair
not perfect, but hopefully it will be
Fair enough.
future.
Are stealthy components and utilizing stealth worth it?
Absolutely 100%. As somebody who flies an arrow, it's very useful to only be able to be targeted from 3.8 kilometers away. It means third parties can't dump missiles on me.
Yep. I fought a Shrike in my Saber, and it was ridiculous. The guy flew 3K away, launched missiles at me for 20 minutes straight, and then eventually one of them hit me and I died. It was pretty wild. Yeah, that was cool. Cutlet, anything to add for that one?
Definitely for unexisting piracy, it is very useful, for sure. In combat, I prefer to not care how far they see me, but again, bear with me. For the content I do and the way I play, I usually fly Vanguard, because in most cases, I face multitude of people chasing me.
So you want some more tankiness?
I want tankiness, and I just don't want to care on missiles. Like Noodle, for example, evades them and just gets off the radar to dodge them. I just eat them. I like, come here, missile. Boom. I don't notice you, right? And I just go straight for the target. Oh, you missile me? I mean, when someone dumps like 5 missiles, I'll just dodge, right? And that's it. But then the moment they off, like, I don't even care if there's like 1 or 2 missiles. I just ignore them, wherever they hit. I just watch my shields. Shields are fine. Just eat them. That's it.
Okay, next question. What size missiles? 1, 2, 3?
I don't know. I pull missile racks off my ships, so I have increased acceleration. They just slow me down.
Okay.
Missile size doesn't matter. It's just how you use them. At least that's what she said.
Yeah, it's true. Next, ballistic, laser, or any of the other types?
Very dependent on the situation. Right now, I use Mantis quite a lot. They're useful for tearing through sentinels, and the range is nice, I guess.
Okay.
But then you have ammo to worry about.
Yes, I ran out of ammo.
You know, if
every fight today because I can't hit shit.
If I don't want to have to go rearm, I'll use attritions. But the drawback to using attritions, while they tear through shields quickly, you have to stay within 300 meters of your target, which if they're flying 1,000 meters per second is an enjoyable experience.
Yeah.
Again, from my gameplay perspective, I usually don't have a luxury for rearming too often.
Mm-hmm.
So in majority of the situations, I prefer personally energy. I just like to get the shields down and then tear up the target. Especially my ship of choice is Sentinel. Yeah, I'm a scrub. I don't care. I use EMP, so my main idea is to tear down the shields. I run either full energy setup as a default.
Which
on
energy
my Sentinel, Galderine, so I have a bit more range in them, and obviously energy repeaters on a Sentinel. If I run in a party, though this setup, if you fight another Vanguard, might be useless. If the Vanguard pilot is competent, equipped with FR shields, and know at least how to get evasive, right? You will just not have enough time on target to have the required DPS on downing his 2 FRs. So my solution to the solo Sentinel is all 4 at ATVS repeaters, which are distortion repeaters, which deal, it seems, not too much more damage in terms of DPS on energy side, but more, and then the Galderine at the bottom, and that actually is usually enough to deal with double FRs on a Sentinel, and then you can go to the hull and you can go in EMP, right? That's kind of...
I think the type of weapon is very dependent on the ship you're flying on, quite frankly. Like I said, the reason I use the Mantis on the Arrow is because it helps me deal with the Vanguards. You know, having that ballistic bleed through the shields means that, you know, I don't have to sit there with attrition at 300 meters only for the moment I get about to get their shields down, they accelerate past me, and then the shield recharges by the time I get back on top of them, right? So
do you use all three ballistic, or do you mix in a distortion cannon? And why or why not?
No, I don't waste your time with distortion. Just go all three ballistic.
I have been. Because that was a little bit of a metaphor at the time, right? During the Vandal Mask event was last time I PvP.
People are still trying the distortion thing right now, but you might as well just go all ballistic, and then you've got that bleed going through the shield. So even if you don't get their shield down, you're still hammering them. Like, in fact, I killed a Sentinel just before we started the podcast without even getting his shields down, and I did it in like 20 seconds or something like that.
Interesting.
So,
yeah, that was the meta of that patch I was talking about previously, when it was super overpowered, right? So again, my nose guns on a Vanguard with repeaters, distortion repeaters, is the only reason for that are the Vanguards. If not, I wouldn't use that. And very correct with Noodle, depending on a ship. If I'm going for Caterpillars, I will be flying Cutlass Blue with a QED and 4 dominant scatterguns to get his shields down. It's like so
that's
dependent on the situation.
Right?
No, that's just damaged ones.
Yeah,
that's just
damaged
ones.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting because somebody mentioned in chat saying bleed is annoying, or I think they mean ballistic bleed. I wish lasers were closer in effectiveness. I would actually kind of agree with you. I think Cutlet will probably disagree with me here, but I wish lasers were more effective on shields and less effective on hull. Personally.
I think that's going to long-term be the thing.
I don't know why you think I will disagree with you. I'm all up for diversified gameplay, and that's like few other things I wanted to touch on, but we already started calling people. Like, I wanted to talk about the ship-to-ship balance and armor, but I don't know if we're going to have time for that. I think that's one of the very important balance issues that are not looked at by CAG.
I would say hold it. I would say hold that idea, because I don't think it's not looked at by them. I just think it isn't implemented yet, and they should implement it. It should be a priority, but it isn't. And when it does start becoming a priority, I think we could do this show at least once a quarter with you guys, and that once we're closer to something like that, and they're actively working on it, then we can discuss how we think it should work.
Right? I get it. You just want me to shut up. I get it.
Of course not. I actually think everybody watching...
Just a secret. They implemented armor, and that's why I wanted to rant.
Oh, I didn't know. Then go ahead.
Yeah. So very quick, the way they implemented armor, they called it armor version 0, which makes no sense because those are just resistances.
It's just a value.
If someone played even line again, they know what resistances are. It's just basically mitigating a percentage of damage dealt, which in the current game makes no sense because it's just the same thing as giving a ship just more HP. That's it. So I think if they if they've spent their time implementing that simple formula into the damage math, what they should have done is instead of percentage symbol, they should have done no symbol. So it would be a straightforward reduction of a value per projectile, and then armor would be a real thing and could be called tier 0 implementation.
I'm pretty sure, aren't they adding, sorry to interrupt, because this is, from my understanding, they're adding essentially maps to the ships, right? Where different areas of the ship have
more
armor values, right? And
in 42 years, sure, they're gonna add that. But what I'm talking is what they did. They created a formula and they put up a useless percentage symbol there, while they could have put no symbol. And for example, imagine, just a quick imagination, okay? Hammerhead, armor 100. So go look at the Urkel and you will see the values that guns deal, the damage, right? And you will basically see that majority of guns will not deal damage to the hull of the hammerhead, especially chain guns and repeaters, and they will be used for cannons, right? So you want to deal with a bigger target armored, you take cannons, then the cannon alpha strike is bigger. Alpha strike is a single like damage, right, of a projectile. So the cannon's alpha is bigger. So when the alpha is, for example, for a gun is 300 and the hammerhead armor value is 100, so in the end you deal up 200 damage, while the other gun that is like a chain gun or repeater has like 110 damage. From one projectile you will deal only 10 damage, right? They should have done that, and then give hammerhead like 100, like just a test. Give like vanguards like, I don't know, like 20, like 30. Give like super hornets, they're like 15 or like 20 again, so they're much less prone to like just random chain gun shots, right? All that, it will make sense. No, you put up the percentage symbol and it ruins the whole idea of tier 0 armor, right? And then we will wait for this mappings and all that in 42 years when we will be dead. Sorry, rant over.
Good job.
Yeah. I think for as far as like the lightning stuff that comes to my mind, if I was a new player, what would I want to know of the state of the game and how to enjoy it? Like, all right, am I just going to get dunked on if I'm using distortions? I didn't know. I learned something today. Shields wise, like, should I be thinking about, or any component, should I be thinking about stealth, stuff like that? Is there anything quickly you would want to add? Because I want to go about 20 minutes longer. We got 2 callers. We can each give them about 10 minutes with you guys and what they want to discuss.
Turrets, they're still bad. They're much better. They're still bad.
What a meme. Yeah, hammerheads still aren't actually that in fact, well, actually, during the event, there was one, I forget the name of the org, sorry, Boo Therapy, whatever your name is. But those guys were actually pretty good on their turrets, but
we need sticky aiming for turrets. We need either better, like that new addition, a recent addition to combat gameplay is like your fixed assist, right? Either that thing on turrets should be much better than on just like when you're piloting, or there has to be like a sticky aiming where
sticky aiming, I completely agree with. Like there are people, there's somebody mentioned in chat, sorry to interrupt, somebody said in chat that hammerheads are scary. Yeah, in hands of a full group of people who really know what they're doing, they're scary. But I think the issue here is that the skill gap for turret gunners is so wide, people are either useless on them or they're really good. Whereas there needs to be more diversity in levels of skill. I think that's where Cutlet's idea of sticky aiming actually really comes in. Having the turret track the target as you're aiming towards. Do you want to explain it?
Yeah, I will explain it pretty fast.
I was going to ask
if someone played World of Warships, they know what sticky aiming is. It's basically when you lock the target, right? When you're at the target, your turret will rotate with the center of mass of the ship. It will follow the ship, but it will not follow the pip. It's up to you to aim to the pip, but it will remove this useless use of the mousepad space for you trying to constantly rotate in space where everyone goes everywhere, right?
Yeah.
You have to like aim the pip, not try to catch up with the target. This is sticky aiming, just like look like it works in World of Warships. And the other like easy thing how you can implement this, when you press C, the turret aligns. Imagine if you lock the target and you press C, if you have a lock, it will align basically not to the center of your ship, it will start aligning to the opponent, and then you just have to aim the pip. That will really improve the turret gameplay. And then the other thing with the turret gameplay is overall balance of the turret ships. Hurricane is a very good example of how imbalanced things are. CAG never thinks of multi-crew ships, of how much investment in players you place into a ship. They just think it's still one player investment. When you give players a ship that you have invest 2 players into, you have to take that into consideration, because in the end of the day, in majority of the MMOs, including like the biggest like scale combat MMOs like Evenline, it is how many people you can bring to the battlefield. It's not about your assets. Assets are usually overflowing in a high-end game. It's about the people you can organize and bring into the fight. If you're spending 2 guys putting them into the Hurricane, you just cannot make that ship so useless in terms of its HP, in terms of its tanking, in terms of its maneuverability. Same thing with the Vanguard and the turret Vanguard argument. I can live with Vanguards being slower than they are right now. I cannot live with asking my mate to man a turret in a Vanguard that has 2 size 2 guns. I'm sorry. I'll better bring another Vanguard. That's it. And that's how you balance it. You want it to be a heavy fighter. You want it to struggle with ships that are like kind of lighter than it. It already struggles aiming arrows. Like everyone does, right? Everyone does. But I would live it's being like rotations being a bit little slower, but having a quad 2 turret for my mate, so he can deal with lighter targets with that turret. So there is a value into placing a person in that turret, a living person. I don't want to
100%.
hear even arguments about NPCs. Those are lame, okay? Placing a real person into that turret instead of bringing a second Vanguard, because second Vanguard will help you less with lighter turrets if that turret was good, but it's not. It doesn't have enough saturation to deal with it. So, like, they're not totally balancing that out. Okay, GG.
Nailed it.
All right, so with that said, we'll bring in our first caller, and we'll give them about 10 minutes each, approximately, and see where we go with their conversation. So the first one is Vertigo1, so I will replace B with that name. There that is. And BB I'll bring back up. Vertigo we bring down. Hello, Vertigo.
Can you hear me? I may have to turn off this.
Yeah, turn off the stream so you don't get an echo, and I'll turn you up a little bit. But I hear you.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of a lurker. This is my first time actually watching the stream live.
Awesome. So you're on with Cutlet and Noodle, very PvP-oriented guys. What do you want to ask them, talk to them, discuss?
I've been playing since like fairly early, like 2-3 or so, and PvP has kind of gone through ups and downs, but I would say it's still probably nowhere near where it would need to be for a release game. But I think like from just listening to the earlier discussion, I mean, I think we're kind of like in the pre-3.0 lull with the player counts being so spread out.
Yeah.
And I mean, that being said, that doesn't mean that PvP can't be improved now. And I think like one thing that seems to have come up is, why does CIG need to take so long on iterating on balance or things like that? One thing that I remember y'all bringing up is the question of, why doesn't CIG put out more patches to do balance fixes? And I don't know the answers to that question, but I know one thing that they could look into if they. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
He just said, "I wish we
did." Like, this is kind of what we were going over earlier, right? I think we're all pretty. I find it really sad that there are. One of the great things that I love about Star Citizen is the fact that we have different manufacturers, right? Unlike a lot of other space games, not all ships are samey. And, Drake is very different to Origin. Origin is very different to Anvil. And people very often have their favorite manufacturers. Not only do they have their favorite manufacturers, they have their favorite ships. For example,
I want to fly my Saber.
I absolutely love the Saber, and I absolutely love the Hornet, but I cannot fly those ships right now. They are just not viable for PvP, and that genuinely kind of makes me sad. I would genuinely love to see, and I get it. CIG have said so many times it's an alpha. Stuff will get balanced later, but people are playing the game now, right? And CIG themselves have been calling it a game as a service game, which
Yes.
Right.
I'll be right back. I'm gonna use the restroom.
The whole premise of that is frequent updates, right? So yeah, no, I
Yeah.
genuinely would love to see more balanced patch. Are we in control now? Has he left us?
Yes.
Quickly,
Let's,
we can chance to talk, Cutlet.
yeah. Now we can ban him. Let's do something bannable so he gets off the Twitch.
Oh, that's
Oh,
just
no.
kind. What was the other part of your question, dude?
But anyways, in terms of like, I had this idea that essentially like CIG, instead of pushing the numbers with a patch, they could push them with a backend service, kind of like they do the economy. Because they've got a team that they say like does, like tries to work on balancing the numbers and stuff. And if they could just like tweak numbers in a backend database and push patches like every few days, when
Yeah. I have a funny feeling. Sorry to interrupt you, but I have a funny like I'm pretty sure I saw you talking about this in chat, and I'm pretty sure that that's probably their intention, but they just haven't gotten to that yet, right? Because there's no way in hell that they can be planning on. It's the only way they're going to be able to frequently balance, right? As much as people talk about meta and whatnot, values will always be changing in Star Citizen. So that. Yeah, I kind of assumed that would be the case ultimately.
Okay, Dad is back. Don't tell him what we did.
Somebody asked, did I wash my hands? Why would I wash my hands? My pee-pee's clean.
COVID, bro. You haven't got COVID on your pee-pee?
No.
But I mean, like, there are other games that are like finished, that they are not adding features that cause such large disruptions to like where the balance numbers need to be. So like, because of the live environment that is Star Citizen, I mean, like being able to quickly like iterate on that might actually kind of save.
Yeah, it's funny they talk about it and they never do it, right? They talk about and brag about how good the live environment is, and the utilization of that thing happens only once a quarter, maybe.
Yeah.
Right?
The
I honestly think
patch. The 0.1 patch.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, it actually doesn't add up. Like, it just fixes bugs usually. That's it. I honestly think that's might be very playerish perspective, not a dev perspective, and that's might be very complicated to them. But with all the problems in combat, I think they have to have some sort of servers where like there will be some kind of constant balance testing going on that is not even tied to releases of the major patches. Like, it might be very delusional opinion, and like it's not like really okay to do it from the dev perspective, but I think there has to be like combat PTU, basically. Sorry for saying that, it sounds silly, but where people can like experiment with stuff, and then where there will be like some sort of like dev team that basically like player whatever vehicle experience team or whoever does the combat stuff, they will put up like, it will not be any content patches, it's like just the values, right? So people
Prepare
can
your
communicate
Pepe.
to them.
I gotta stop you, Cutlet, because this is gonna be perfect. Prepare your Pepe laughs, everybody, in Twitch chat. You're asking for theaters of war.
Oh, yeah.
No, not for
Soon.
But that's what it is. It's all about the combat values. It's all about the experiences, ship versus ship, ship versus player, ship versus tank, ship for
No, exactly.
Okay.
I'm not talking about. I know what you mean, and
Yeah.
I'm totally not talking about that, because
Okay.
theaters of war will be untouched from patch to patch the same way the PU is. What I'm talking about is specific dedicated PTU servers that don't need like any content updates, like, right? But they can have like little micro patches like every week, for example, when people like do the testings, like combat guys do the tests, right? And they say, well, this could be this, let's test this. Let's not bring it to live environment, but let's try this nerf curve, right? Let's try these speeds. Let's try giving Hurricane 4 shields instead of 2 shields. And you know, they just test it for like a week, and then they put in other values, and it doesn't even go to live. And that's basically what you were talking about earlier, like throwing moist noodles into the wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah.
Right?
You're asking for a testing environment, not a balancing environment, where Theaters of War is more of a balancing environment, right?
Yeah.
Or that was their intention like, for it. We don't know what it is because it doesn't exist.
Whatever you call it, balancing. It doesn't matter anymore who calls, because we still don't know. Are we in pre-alpha, in alpha, in live game as a service? It depends on what's the motives of the marketing is. If something is good, we're totally live service. If something is bad, we're totally pre-alpha, right? It doesn't even matter how you call it. So we just need this noodle throwing, I'm sorry, noodle, into the wall with different idea to see what works. Because if they continue this pace of iteration once a quarter, and in case of combat, once like half a year of some major changes, or even once a year, we will be there. Oh no, wait, my children may be there at some point, right? Maybe. Or their children. So yeah, that's the problem. We need this like iterative, because I think CAG thinks a bit like this. Oh, we just need like content. And then in beta, we'll quickly balance it out. Nope. It's not going to work like this. Yeah. You won't be able to balance it out from light fires like an arrow to javelins in beta unless beta takes another 7 years. That's the problem. It takes too long to feel that things. That's why, because I talk that is why I talk about the armor values to hammerheads right now. Even that we don't have physicalized components, it doesn't matter. CAG themselves need this feeling of how long actually a hammerhead has to live in combat.
I did have one more thing I wanted to ask, kind of in the time frame, but I know one thing that's come up before a lot is like consequences to death. And I don't think it came up in this particular stream, but I think like at least on the short term things that
can you tell the miner in the back to stop crying?
Someone just found out that Theaters of War is delayed.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I'm not on here more often. No. One thing they could do is, instead of the ships just blowing up, I saw like the first iteration of salvage on there. Like if there was a reason for people to stick around after somebody blew up to like pull stuff off, or if the player was still alive and could try and escape or things like that, that might make things a bit more interesting.
Well, we're heading towards a time to disable rather than time to kill. CIG have kind of, talked about this quite a few times, and I'll be honest with you, I'm really looking forward to that. As much as the explosions in this game are beautiful, they're supposed to be more of a rare thing.
Yeah.
Right. And especially as somebody who will most likely be hanging around with unsavory yet handsome types like SpaceCutlet, we want something to sell, right? We want to make as much money as we possibly can. So I think we're generally kind of heading towards that anyway.
Heading. We're crawling there, man. Like
crawling.
We're crawling on the floor, drooling all over the floor.
I think it starts with medical gameplay and actual hopefully them creating reasons to not want to die through that, and then the ball's in their court again.
I very often get people using Death of a Spaceman against me in arguments in general chat in game, and quite frankly, I cannot wait for Death of a Spaceman.
Oh yeah,
Death of a Spaceman is the thing that will stop bounty hunters trying to ram me to death constantly, and I really look forward to that.
And traders stop telling me to go fuck myself because they don't care on their life, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
It's as much of a consequence for those people as it is for us.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, we should have more consequences probably because we're criminals. So we have prison on top of that, right? And all that. But
whoa.
there
We got broken elevators at Grimhex. We don't need any more.
Right.
Vertigo.
So yeah, but
Go ahead. Sorry.
no. Vertigo should probably talk because I talk too much.
Every time you get on here, you get so upset at yourself. No one's telling you to stop talking. Everyone is like, I can listen to SpaceCutlet do
I'm
this
just
forever.
beaming.
Well, yeah, I got news for you guys. SpaceCutlet streams like a lot. So if you guys want to have these conversations more often with him, you could do them pretty much every day. Twitch.tv/SpaceCutlet. Same with Moist Noodle.
Thank you. Thank you
Yes.
for the shout out, man.
Yes. Please don't put yourself down like that. You said in the beginning that you're not that great of a PvPer, and I don't know, but
I didn't said I'm not great of a PvPer. I said I'm far from being the best dogfighter.
Exactly. So if we were going to talk about dogfighting and
not,
PvP, you'd think I wouldn't have you on here, right? I would have somebody else.
It's like
but you
what
have
I
a great
mean.
mind
It's
and
just,
speak well about it.
Yeah, it's what I mean is my muscle or memory and my control scheme. I just don't want to bother with the game to get the best dogfighter in the world in the state. Though it doesn't mean I'm not knowledgeable, right? I know basically every mechanic by heart, and yeah.
Exactly the point. Exactly. But yeah, Vertigo, is there anything else you want to add before we bring on our next and final call for the day?
Just mainly that I get the impression that CIG was really hoping to get the jump gate and pyro and all that stuff in earlier, because like that seems like it will make kind of there be more of a division between players that are more inclined to PvP along with whatever they're doing. But yeah, that seems so far out right now with server meshing kind of being up in the air in terms of when they'll finish, that we're kind, it's just kind of, we're trying to make do with what we have in game.
Yeah, I mean, and in the end, for me, if they can say what pyro is all they want in lore, but unless they deliver it in game in terms of a risk versus reward area, there's the people who live there at the risks of living there, unlawful, dangerous, whatever, and then the reason for players to maybe take the risk to go there at the risk of meeting a SpaceCutlet or a Moist Noodle or whomever, right?
I can actually commend on pyro very, very good.
They got to deliver it. Yeah. They got to deliver that. And if they don't, then it's just another screenshot place.
It's coming soon, don't worry.
Yeah,
so about a quick answer about the pyro. Pyro will make no difference. Content will make
100%.
difference. You can have no pyro and the proper division of PvP and PvE players inside of Stanton. It doesn't matter. People get so hard about the pyro. It will be just another system with maybe better looks and visuals or new visuals.
Asked in Twitch chat earlier whether we would be hanging out in pyro, to which my response was, depends on the content. Like, I'm not just going to go to pyro because it's a nice place to take screenshots. I need a reason to be there. I'm going to where the gameplay is.
High reward, and we can profit from that, I'll go there. If Stanton remains to be that place and pyro is just abandoned shit with no trading routes or nothing, no, I will still kill people in Stanton, like I do right now. Easy as that.
Yep.
Didn't CIG float the idea of like a money printing mission or something where people would like hold some kind of like resource or something to drive PvP, and that never kind of showed up?
Like Jump Town?
Oh yeah.
Right? It was literally a money printing location, essentially.
Yeah. Slam trading is a money printing location, but it's broken.
Yeah. It's frustrating. Like, we've asked for it for so long. For some reason, CIG don't want to give it to us. And again, just to clarify, for those of you who are getting a little bit frustrated in the Twitch chat earlier, I know I'm not supposed to reference it, but when I talk about, Jump Town for the PvPers, it's not just for the sake of the PvPers. It's pulling the PvPers away from the other locations like Port Olisar and giving them something to do. And PvPers are more likely to run into other PvPers at Jump Town, right? Like, that's literally the whole point of it. It's
huge
that bottleneck where there's going to be dogfighting. Yeah, absolutely.
Here is a huge missed opportunity. Crusader L1 right? Hurston L3 right next to Crusader L1. Hurston L3 has tons of Quantanium. You drop the Quantanium off at Crusader L1. I don't know what happened with PvPers, with pirates, why it's so never really turned out to be a thing, but I mean that was like super clear, obvious route. So like I think they've tried to do that. I think they had really great Quantanium at the L3s. The closest L1 to the L3 that actually gives a Quantanium bonus is at Crusader L1. I only got PvP there once, so I never felt the need to bring defense. And I know that's an argument a lot.
I spent month going there. Sometimes you could find people there, but here's the reason: the same thing we cannot pirate traders because there is no trading.
They don't care.
No, there is no trading. Like the terminals are give you no supply. The same shit goes with mining, but the opposite way. Everyone has their carracks with billions inside of cities because of the bugged refineries that are still bugged. Hello, CAG, still bugged. You can still do this. Who would mind if you just have a carrack or whatever ship filled with infinite money, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of miners I know and I talk to, they're just sitting on those ships. And I was the one who promoted that. I feel bad about it, but I think
I just stopped.
if I didn't promote, it would still be there. It will be just more entitled, smaller community who get abused that, and it will get fixed even later on because it's not so much in the air. That's why I like literally talk about make all those exploits so like visible on my streams because I just want them to get fixed. I actually happy I forced this freaking Hadanite exploit to get fixed. It hurted me the most, but I'm good with that because there is no more like 40 million merit boxes. But you know, I'm taking that. I don't care. It hurts me the most.
Yeah.
But it's gone. Thanks God.
Yeah, but all right, Vertigo. I guess we'll let you go and we'll bring in our next call. But I appreciate you calling in and your special guest in the background as well. Twitch chat, have fun with that.
Yeah, see you
later, buddy. Thank you so much. All right, and our next caller is Reezer. Let me bring him on. And he ended up in a different spot. So that...
Oh no, it's the animal.
I will do this.
It's the beast.
Hello, Reezer.
Thank you for having me. Hey guys.
If you have a cam, Reezer, you're more than welcome to use it too if you want.
No, sorry. I am in a very dark room.
Okay,
so it wouldn't be any use.
No, I'm just giving you the option.
So my first question would be, is that it's an impression I got mostly, is that from watching SCL or other live streams, do you guys not get the impression that the developers, not the marketing team, which is an important distinction, especially the higher ups, consider the PU to be nothing but like a throwaway temporary playground where they dump some work, they finish, and the backers can mess around with their ships. They often talk about the tech they have been working on for years, which isn't in the PU yet. And they kind of laugh disregardingly at how some tech in the PU is from 2017 or something. And internally, they have been working and using entirely different tech for years already. So the question basically from the beginning is that do you guys not think that the PU is just this temporary throwaway thing and they are working on something entirely different?
I don't think CIG are that clever. I've really been bitching at them this podcast, but I actually don't think they're that clever. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think it's both a little bit Illuminati and so true. Right? In terms of their approach. It's not what actually going on, but in terms of their approach. So it's like you can see this. When something is good, they show up. When something is wrong, they just literally make it look like it's a throw-off product and everything's going to be different. I do have a feeling that a lot of decisions they make internally, especially like higher up people, they judge from the internal builds they have where things are totally different. Like, it's not that this, what we have right now, is a throw-off, and something's gonna magically happen at one point where everything will change and they have the different game, at all. Like even on an Unreal Engine, No, that's not gonna happen for sure. But the decisions that are made inside of CEG, I think they are sometimes misjudging things because they are looking at different Star Citizen for sure.
100%. I completely agree. Sorry, carry on. I was going to go off on a tangent. I don't want to. Go on.
Really? Okay.
Go ahead.
My bad, go. No, I just have a hard time even imagining what a complete product might look like because there is so much information, many times contradictory.
You know what? Sorry to interrupt you right here.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know what? I'm pretty sure CAG does not know that either.
I'll be honest with you. I agree with you, and I stopped trying to imagine what the complete product would be a long time ago, and I just view what we have now as the complete product. And again, they call it a game as a service game, so that's why I see what we have now as the complete product, and they continue to add to it.
And that is the only way. I cannot stress it more. Listen to this man. And I've been saying this too. This is the only way to play this game and remain a sane person.
Yeah.
Right? A sane person. No. There is no sane persons who can play this game, right? We're all a bit insane, but to not lose the remains of your sanity. Okay? So when people come in to my chat and start theory crafting 42 years into the future, discussing the ships that don't exist and how good or bad they are, I'm like,
talk to me about the Perseus. I mean, seriously, that is going to change everything.
Actually, let me talk to you about the Perseus. I honestly think, and that's
mistakes were made.
Usually, I don't do that. I honestly think that the Perseus will be, if it's ever gonna be whatever I think it's gonna be. You see how much imagination in one sentence, right? It's gonna be probably one of the first ships that gonna have some kind of good multi-crew thing, because the amount of firepower they give to a single person in the turret is kind of enough to sacrifice the person. I think Perseus is actually gonna be a very good ship, unless they ruin it.
Because they have such big turrets, right?
But it could be more like the Idris, couldn't it? If you took that railgun and just put it onto the person. Let's think about that for a second.
Yeah, exactly. That's what people try to do in my chat, right?
I don't think any further than the next coming patch. Sorry, that's the Reddit police coming after me. I don't think any fuck off. I don't think any further than the next patch that's coming, because otherwise what ends up happening is stuff gets delayed, you get disappointed, stuff gets changed, you get disappointed. It really is for the sake of your sanity. Don't start theory crafting.
Listen to this man and follow his advice, everyone.
For me, as someone who is not as someone who is not necessarily very passionate about PvP, I genuinely don't care about 1v1 single seat fighting each other, right? I don't really.
But
what is there to keep you sane in the game right now? I enjoy multi-crew. I enjoy getting into a Korok with a party of 3 or 4 people and just doing whatever that is not actively seeking out PvP. Everything else. So how can I keep my sanity if there's nothing to do?
I'm going to blow people's minds when I say this, but PvP isn't just about single-seater fighter. In the future, when people are fighting over, for example, since Mike is a miner, there's a particular area that has some very valuable ores in it. I'm pretty goddamn sure those miners are going to be fighting over that. That's still PvP, right?
Absolutely.
But in terms of
that's the future, and
but for me, not losing my mind, I'm making my own goddamn fun. Quite frankly, and I know this is probably going to sound a little bit toxic, I'm so sick to death of being shouted down by space dads that I want to encourage as many people to get into PvP as possible, which is why myself, Aiko, Panda, and a handful of other streamers have started doing the PvP training, right? Because it's in our interest to have as many people who can actually competently engage in dogfighting in the verse as possible.
Because they will teach other people. And
Yeah,
then the people will get into the orgs with the space dead and will protect them. Imagine.
and not only that, they educate other people, because there's so much misinformation about PvP and about the attitudes of people who do PvP. So yeah, at the end of the day, I think the event that they put on for Xenothreat was cool. The byproduct of it, which for somehow was unforeseen by CIG, was PvP. In terms of my stream, obviously I have to create content for my stream, and I just got to a point where I was so sick to death of yet again coming back to another patch that just revolves around orbiting Port Olisar, right?
Yeah.
Like I 3.12.0 was genuinely such a terrible patch that I stopped playing Star Citizen for the first time since like 2014. And I wanted to do what I could to avoid that situation again. So I want to do PvP. I want to be useful to other people. So that's why we're doing the training. And
I think you're doing
would
something
encourage
really great, you know? And
I'm
it's
sorry
really
that it
great
turned
from a
into me
content
shilling.
Nah, man,
I'm
that's
sorry
what,
that it turned
dude.
into
I
shilling
invited you
anything,
here
but
to shill this thing, like that was the reason. Like, obviously, I just wanted to talk to you, and I respect your opinions more than most people in the world when it comes to this game. But the other reason was that I think you're doing something really great that is going to benefit the game as a whole and benefit the players playing it. And like, yeah, you know, so Reezer, if you don't have anything else to add, I'm going to jump in real quick and say we should really shill that thing now as much as possible. When can people join this? How do they join it? Where do they go? And do me a favor, send me the links via PM so I can link them in the YouTube video.
1 second. I'm gonna pop the link in your Twitch chat.
Twitch chat as well.
Right.
Yes, thank you. Please.
So here's the link to my Gilded right here. For those who don't know, Gilded is a pretty new platform. They're taking on Discord, unlike Discord, which
Discord
is
partner here. Relax.
Which is a platform designed for corporations rather than gamers. Gilded is actually designed for gamers, and actually, without seeming like a joke, it's the thing that really helps us is that very much like the old TeamSpeak days. In terms of voice comms, they're laid in a hierarchical structure. So it means that, for example, our squadron leaders can communicate between the channels amongst themselves while we're trying to organize the events, which is really freaking useful. But in terms of our training, all the information is on Gilded. BeeBerrie is one of our training instructors. Panda, who is also in Twitch chat right now.
Who's the guy who ruined my day. Like, which is hilarious.
Also, what about training instructors? I think Aiko or Akko is going to be training people as well. We're building essentially a platform for people to learn how to dogfight in a structured way. There's going to be ranks. Every lesson will have a lesson plan. All the instructors are actually training amongst themselves to make sure they're all on the same briefing when it comes to those lesson plans. And essentially, depending on where you rank and how you get on with the lessons, that also means that you will be able to access other events that we are putting on, because we want to matchmake and team people as closely together as possible in terms of this skill. And speaking of matchmaking, Panda has been working on a really cool matchmaking system. If you're interested in that, for PvP that is, so tap him up in my Discord, my Gilded as well. Sorry. God damn it. Almost perfect.
Almost. I mean, I think that's really cool. It's something I really want to participate in and just get a better sense of how stuff works, because I got the itch. I'm not gonna lie. That's why I wanted to know, like, what the people I respect the most about PvP. I got the itch, man. It took one explosion. That's all. That's it.
It's interesting. There are people who have been taking part who were never interested in dogfighting, But the one thing that I always say is that even if you don't intend to be a combat pilot or a dogfighter, at the very least, come and learn the survival skills, because that is the stuff that will keep you alive when, when people are hunting you down, trying to kill you, right? So
for sure. Sure.
I think people don't realize to full extent what Noodle is doing here. And I think there, like, some people probably in chat are like, you know, laughing or something. They don't understand how important that is. And I cannot stress enough that they should fucking get in the line, right? To get their skills up. And just at least to get the general understanding about the PvP. For your own sake, for your own survival, you will have to do it sooner or later, or you will extinct in this game, or you will be totally tied to a high second future, like relying on NPCs to protect you. Better get the knowledge now in this state of the game where nothing actually matters, because yes, the game gonna change. Yes, the skills required are going to change, like your skills, your like muscular skills, your brain skills, but having the background, it will not go away. Last time I took a pause from a Star Citizen for a year. It took me a week to get back to speed. Would I be like people? A lot of people think that, oh, you know what? I will learn to PvP when the game is ready, because it makes no sense. No, it makes sense. Even if it's gonna change, it makes sense for you to understand what's going on in the game. So, guys, I strongly recommend contacting this handsome person and attending to the lessons.
I'm just going to say I couldn't do it without the other people who are doing most of the work, right? So don't. This is mostly BeeBerrie. It's mostly Panda, and Aiko and those guys. So yeah, make sure you get into that guild.
I don't do it with them, and I feel very jelly. I lose my, I lose my foot into education of people. I feel very jelly for not doing this. I mean, I can totally join them. I'm not the part of the instructors, though.
Not yet.
Maybe I will. Maybe I will. Who knows?
Yeah, you never know. I think that was his application
program, which is genuinely going to be a thing. Just so you know.
How much does the license cost? No? So that's your new monetization system.
Just $99 a month. You too could have a license.
Oh
for
no!
People.
Oh no! Everything in Star Citizen has to be monetized. Why? I think that's a good place to end it. Reezer, thank you for being on. Moist, Cutlet,
thank you.
BeeBerrie. I can't remember the other caller's name off Vertigo 1. Thank you guys. Yeah. Quick before we go, the state of PvP is one word. Moist Noodle.
All right.
SpaceCutlet.
Non-existent.
That's two words.
Reezer.
Non-existent, I said.
There's a hyphen. Counts as one.
Oh, okay, fair.
Reezer, just because you're here?
Boring.
Okay.
Boring, absolutely.
I would say, for me, I'm going to use more than one word because I'm the host. Too difficult to get involved in. And
that's what we're trying to change.
Or too difficult to find. Too difficult to find. Yeah, hard to find. And yeah, I think that's where we'll leave it. So thank you, everybody, for coming on the show. And thank you, everybody, for watching. I can tell you this, I've been really struggling with just my content creation and being like, man, what am I doing? View counts on Twitch are down, but the view counts for this show have never been better. And I'm glad there's something that I'm doing that people that, the guys that we bring on and ladies that we bring on are that people are enjoying. It's the thing I look forward to every week now, because I really struggle to figure out what to do with Star Citizen every other day out of the week. But this is so easy to do and so enjoyable to do. So I just want to appreciate you guys that watch and that come on and that comment on the YouTube video and all that stuff. So with that said, leave a like if you're watching on YouTube. I'll do the whole thing that we normally do at the end. If you're watching on Twitch and you missed some of this, it'll be up on YouTube late tonight. YouTube has been giving me absolute hell getting these things up. They are just going up super slow. I'd like to say what next week topic is. My mods, Zeus especially, are always on me about this to try and be better about that. It's so difficult though. Star Citizen again is so just empty that it's tough to find that piece of thing that you want to talk about. So
You
leave a
very
like,
often have
comment,
to go with
all
the
that
flow
stuff.
of the community.
Exactly. So for me, the flow was, wow, I'm enjoying PvP, but I also hate it. So, you know, what do the people that I respect the most think about it, and what advice would they give? So I thought this would be a great time. But yep, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we'll see you guys next week, I hope, if there's something to talk about.